Chapter 888. So, the parrot cupped its two featherless wings and cupped its fists. It then said to the crowd, "So I beg of you, please satisfy my master. Later on, you must make your move." Chow Ju, the silver wolf, Jean Duoduo, the East Arrival Pavilion, and the people from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution all glared angrily at the parrot. Chu Na, who was in the crowd, wanted nothing more than to strangle the parrot to death. How dare it make trouble for her little brother? The parrot ignored Chu Na and angrily said to Chow Ju and the others, "What are you looking at? This divine bird understands the heart of my master." Then it pointed its wings at them and said, "You are jealous. You hate me. You hate me for stealing your words, and you can't even say a fart." Hearing this, everyone knew why the parrot was called Lil Bitch. Lil Guai had already covered its crystal-clear eyes, as if it was embarrassed. How could it have such a shameless little brother? Jun Zhan Tian and the strange-skinned man beside him were so disregarded and despised by Chu Yang that they were burning with anger. They secretly issued orders one after another. Soon after, many people stood out, filled with righteous indignation. Evil demons are evil demons. After killing someone, you are so skilled at covering it up. You can even turn black into white. But what's the use? Do you think you can deceive us? That's right. Our 5 Elements sect will not tolerate such an evil thief. Kill him. He's just one person. Even if he's strong, so what? We can drown him with a spit each. What's there to fear about death? 18 years later, I'll be a hero again. I want to see how many of us you can kill, demon. Rumble. Suddenly, the earth trembled, and a murderous aura shot to the sky. The spiritual energy surged like a tide, as if it had gathered into a vast ocean. In an instant, it was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were charging towards Chu Yang. At a glance, there were at least 2,000 people. Chu Yang's expression changed slightly. He didn't know if these 2,000 people were all from the great emperor of the Eastern Wasteland or something else. With so many people forming a huge force, ordinary 5 Elements sect's disciples might also attack in a fit of anger. If you attack me, then don't blame me. Chu Yang wasn't worried about his own safety. He was just worried that he had killed the wrong person. However, there were so many people that he couldn't care less. Shoo! Shoo! Like a group of archers in an army, 10,000 arrows were shot at the same time. 100 or so people gathered together and condensed their spiritual aura into sharp arrows, forming a huge rain of arrows to attack. Another 100 or so people used their spiritual aura to form long spears to pierce through. This was the first wave. The organization of the attack was very orderly. Like an army in battle, they first used arrows to suppress the enemy and then charged. Then, flood dragons, pythons, eagles, lions, tigers, cauldrons, bells, pagodas, buildings, rivers, giant trees, giant rocks, and all kinds of other things that were constructed by Zhen Yuan and Ling Qi flooded over. The sky was densely packed. It was as if the grocery store of heaven had fallen down, and a mountain forest had appeared out of thin air, with birds and beasts galloping in it. Countless attacks converged into a storm, forming a huge wave that swept over, causing the world to rumble. That kind of momentum made everyone feel as if the heavens were enraged and some kind of disaster had descended. Everyone was instantly speechless. They didn't make a sound as they stared blankly at the scene in front of them. Chu Na's heart was already in her throat. She didn't want her younger brother to do such a dangerous thing in the face of such a terrifying enemy. However, she also knew that Chu Yang had to do it. At this moment, the only thing she could do was pray. Chao Ju and the others were no longer smiling. When they were at Emperor Island, they had seen a similar scene and knew that Chu Yang should be able to withstand it. However, when they saw such a terrifying attack in the sky again, they still felt their scalps go numb. The parrot glanced at them and only looked at them with disdain. It focused on educating the dozen people that Chu Yang had thrown to it. As for Xiao Guai, It was also staring blankly at this scene. Its little claws suddenly clenched into fists. It suddenly felt that it was too weak. Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu, Long Fis, Lu Tianrui, Bai Sansi, and the others all had different reactions. Chapter 889. Jun Zhan Tian and the 5 people with strange skin colors also took action. There was no one within a 30 feet radius of the 6 of them. Those 5 people had made their move before Jun Zhan Tian. Green, black, white, yellow, and red spirit energies of these 5 colors formed into a poisonous snake with 5 colored spots all over its body. Then, these 5 colored spots split into smaller snakes and slithered towards Chu Yang. It was as if a group of snakes had appeared all over the mountain. Although the 5 colored spots were very small, they were extremely eye-catching due to the terrifying colors. They filled the void, and the 5 colored spots seemed to cause the void to suffer from a type of mottled disease. Jun Zhan Tian, on the other hand, condensed a multicolored giant hand. Each of the colors on it was extremely heavy, to the point that this kind of multicolored hand was frightening to look at. 5 colored spotted snake. 5 colored spotted poison. Chu Yang had long noticed them. To be precise, his focus had always been on Jun Zhan Tian and the 5 people. Initially, when Chu Yang saw the 5 people with strange skin colors, he knew that the 5 of them cultivated poison art. They were the 5 poison people. The reason was naturally because of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness was an expert in poison art. Many of the great figures of the demon race had died tragically from his poison. Finally, when dealing with the desolate demons, he also used poison, and even created the desolate poison. The great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness used the 5 elements as the foundation to protect himself and control all poisons. Everything he learned was recorded in the 5 poisons scripture. Everything on Emperor Island had been taken away by the descendants of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. It was not surprising that Jun Zhan Tian and the rest had poison art. Unfortunately, I did not see the divine ability, 5-colored poison light. Jun Zhan Tian and the rest might have been probing Chu Yang's actual strength, but Chu Yang also wanted to understand Jun Wudao, as well as Jun Tianchou and the rest's methods through them. However, it was clear that they did not give him the chance. The 5-colored poison light was naturally inferior to the 5-colored divine light, but it was still extremely shocking. It was said that when the 5-colored poison light was swept out, those who were swept by it would either be corroded into black water or be poisoned to death. Very few people could escape. TSK, so what if you have more people? Along with Chu Yang's disdainful voice, he visualized his void assassin martial soul and disappeared. Bang bang bang. Then, all the attacks in a straight line in the void exploded. When they saw Chu Yang again, he had already appeared above the group of people. Slaughter Seal. This was the legacy of the Deva bloodline of Elder Gold, and was meant to slaughter all living beings. Therefore, it was the perfect time to unleash it. Chu Yang was now filled with killing intent. He would not be polite to anyone who dared to make a move against him. These people clearly understood that they were all dissidents who had infiltrated the 5 Elements sect. If they were all killed, they would no longer be able to cause trouble in the dark. Who knew how much less trouble they would face? When the slaughter seal was unleashed, it was as if a hole had been torn open in the void. A golden torrent surged out, pouring down in torrent. However, it was not a torrent but a torrent of weapons, a storm of weapons. Sabers, spears, swords, halberds, hammers, rods, wheels, and so on. The sharp chi pierced through gold and cracked stone, whistling in the sky. Just the sharp whistling sound alone was enough to make people's scalp numb. Moreover, each of the weapons seemed to be alive, or were controlled by a powerful but invisible creature. Clang clang clang. Poochie poochie. Dense and continuous sounds of weapons, and the sound of ice blades piercing into flesh, were heard. As soon as the slaughter seal was unleashed, a lot of people screamed and fell down instantly. Chapter 890. After the first wave of slaughter, the second wave of slaughter began. Among the crowd, a sixth-level ascending soul realm cultivator was smashed by a sledgehammer. His arm exploded, and the violent energy on it swept up, causing his shoulder to explode. He let out a series of miserable cries as if he had encountered a fierce ghost. His expression was distorted, and in the end, he hugged his head and rolled on the ground. The weapons formed by the slaughter seal all contained the intent to slay the soul. This was a double attack. Not only did it kill the body, but it also killed the soul. The sword and saber martial spirits were weapons, and they were a perfect match for the slaughter seal. The sword and saber martial spirits contained the intent to slay the soul, and they complemented each other with the slaughter intent of the slaughter seal. When combined, the power would increase greatly. Since Chu Yang's killing intent had been aroused, he naturally did not hold back. When he used the slaughter seal, he also used the sword and saber martial spirit. Damn it! Jun Zhan Tian and the 5 poison men saw the screams around them. Their own people fell one by one, and the ground was dyed red with blood. Their eyes were also blood red. These people, every one of them who infiltrated the 5 Elements sect, were carefully planned, and there were almost no flaws. Although Jun Zhan Tian did not care about their lives, they were his property. Every death was a great loss. Now, hundreds of people had died in an instant. Jun Zhan Tian's heart was bleeding. Kill! Kill this murderous demon. Brothers and sisters of the 5 Elements sect, this demon is wantonly killing, are you not going to make a move? Boom. On one side, Jun Zhan Tian and the 5 poison men gathered people and roared together, pouncing toward Chu Yang. Among the 5 poison men, the green-skinned poison man took the lead. With a whoosh, he took out a green-colored ghost head broadsword. With a slight shake, that green-colored ghost head broadsword flowed on the blade. The sharp chi also turned green. Waves of blade chi carrying the poison chi continuously chopped down. 5 poison green poison saber. He was the first to approach Chu Yang. His eyes emitted a green light and he slashed down. The saber light changed, and the light was blurred, completely enveloping Chu Yang. Humph! Chu Yang coldly snorted. He didn't even look at the saber light that was coming at him. He grabbed and slapped the saber, breaking it into pieces. Puff! This poison man vomited blood from the tremendous force transmitted from the saber, his bones breaking inch by inch. Chu Yang activated the 1,000 lights 10,000 shadows art. With a flick of his finger, a black ray of light shot out. The green poison man had no way of dodging at all as the bullet pierced right through his heart. He let out a blood-curdling scream before everyone saw his chest explode as blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Go to hell! Jun Zhan Tian and the 4 poison men's attacks had arrived and they all launched their attacks at Chu Yang, intending to kill him in one strike. At the same time, many people also gathered their spiritual chi and condensed it into a mountain with 5 colors. It was a mountain of poison, and as soon as it appeared, sizzling sounds rang out. Black smoke roiled, and the void seemed to be on the verge of being corroded. Good, good, good. All of you gather in one place, so that I don't have to kill you one by one. Chu Yang pierced into the void like a javelin. With a screech, a devil bird appeared behind him. Rolling black gas curled up around it. The devil bird rushed out and covered the sky. It was as if a black curtain had shrouded the sky. Chapter 891. How is this possible? Let's not talk about how he was able to block all of our attacks so easily. Even a spirit stage martial artist would be wary of the poison gas. Why couldn't it do anything to his demonic bird? What's going on? Could it be that he isn't human? Is he really a demon? It must be an illusion. It must be an illusion. With such an outcome, Jun Zhan Tian and the 4 poison men could not help but be shocked. Previously, they had heard that Chu Yang was ferocious, but they did not know how ferocious he was. Only now did they truly feel it. With so many of them working together, Chu Yang was able to easily defend against them. That demon bird is a desolate demon. Desolate demons are not afraid of poison, which is why it is like this. In his shock, the yellow-skinned poison man suddenly understood why Chu Yang was not afraid of poison. The desolate demons had fought with the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor for an unknown period of time. They had long become immune to the various poisons of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. He obtained the soul of the desolate demon prince and understood the secrets of the desolate demons. 5. Poison bullet. Black Poison took advantage of the fact that Chu Yang wasn't paying attention while everyone was crying out in alarm. He suddenly threw a 5-colored pellet towards Chu Yang. Rumble! There was an instant explosion, and a multicolored mushroom cloud rose up. Within 1,000 steps, the color of the ground changed, especially at the center of the explosion. The ground was corroded into a swamp, and multicolored bubbles continuously emerged. This was a great killing move. It was originally used by the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor to deal with the desolate demons. Little bastard, let's see if you can survive this. I don't believe that you are stronger than a desolate demon. The black poison man gritted his teeth and laughed sinisterly. Jun Tian and the others could not help but stop their attacks. Looking at the swamp with billowing poison gas, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Even if he doesn't die from the explosion, he should be poisoned to death? Little brother! In the crowd, Chu Na had already cried out. Chao Ju and the others narrowed their eyes. The parrot's eyes rolled around as it thought to itself, how immoral! If he can be killed, wouldn't that mean I, the divine bird, will be free? The Chu Yang whose name has shaken the Eastern Wilderness is nothing more than this. The 4 poison men could not help but laugh out loud. Jun Tian also laughed. Really? Is that all I've got? A cold voice came out from the rolling poisonous gas. Who else could it be but Chu Yang's voice? Who? The sound of wind suddenly rang out, and then the 5-colored poisonous gas rolled back like a cloud of arrows, rolling like waves. Not good. By the time Jun Tian realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. The multicolored poisonous gas swept over, and the people on his side fell down in an instant. They were twitching in pain and foaming at the mouth. It didn't take long for the poisonous gas to reach their hearts and kill them directly. In the end, there were only 5 people left, Jun Tian and the 4 poison men. The 5 of them were not afraid of the poison, but the others were. There were nearly 2,000 people besieging Chu Yang, and excluding the few hundred that were killed, there were nearly 1,000 that had died. The number that had died from the poison was much more than the number that had been killed by Chu Yang. This poison is not bad, I'll give you all a thumbs up, Chu Yang said coldly. He had nearly been hit just now. If he had not devoured the desolate demon's essence, he would have obtained the desolate demon's resistance to poison. He might have been in real danger. Da. He walked over step by step, and there were less than 100 people left on Jun Tian's side. When everyone saw this scene, they shuddered. What a terrifying poison! Jun Tian was already trembling, so, before he could finish his sentence, Chu Yang had already rushed over, giving him a sudden shock. He thought that he was definitely going to die. Then, with a bang, he looked over and was surprised to see that the black poison man who had thrown the 5 poison bomb had fallen to the ground. There was a tiny red dot in between his eyebrows. Jun Tian did not understand how Chu Yang had killed the black poison man, but he soon knew. A bullet had pierced through the back of his head. I died just like that? Bang! Jun Tian's eyes were wide open. His body stiffened as he fell to the ground, dying with his eyes wide open. Young master! The remaining 3 poison men exclaimed. They then looked at Chu Yang. You actually killed the young master. Don't you know that he is the son of the sect master? Don't you know the consequences? Chapter 892. The moment that Chu Yang had killed Jun Zhan Tian, Chu Na's heart had leapt right out of her throat. Chao Ju, Jean Duoduo and the Silver Wolf were also stunned. Chu Yang, this lunatic, has actually killed the sect leader's son? Did he not think before doing things, doing whatever he wanted to do? They no longer knew what to say. Before the Five Elements sect leader had determined him to be a renegade, Chu Yang's actions were simply too rash. The entire place was silent. The Five Elements sect's people were all shocked beyond words. A genius like Chu Yang had indeed killed many people in the fierce battle, but as long as he had not killed the sect leader's son, everything could still be salvaged. But if he had killed the sect leader's son, then between him and the Five Elements sect leader, only one could survive. "Tch, your expressions are just too laughable," Chu Yang said disdainfully. "Jun Zhan Tian wanted to kill me, so why can't I kill him? Forget about the sect leader's son. Even if it was the sect leader, if he wanted to kill me, I would kill him all the same. Even the sect leader would be killed." Such words caused everyone present to be greatly shocked as they thought to themselves, "This Chu Yang is truly audacious and lawless. You three poison humans can die for me as well." Chu Yang's hands did not stop as he directly killed the remaining three poison humans. White poison battle armor. Yellow poison battle armor. Red poison battle armor. The three poison men suddenly panicked and the spirit chi on their bodies rose up to form a suit of battle armor around their bodies, protecting their vitals. Though the three battle armors were of different colors, their designs were all the same. The bone spikes on the surface were ferocious as poisonous gas surged. It was an armor formed from highly poisonous spirit chi. Not only did this highly poisonous battle armor have great defense, it also emitted highly poisonous spirit chi. In the midst of a fight, if one was not careful, they would inhale the poisonous gas. If that happened, the consequences would be unthinkable. Generally speaking, most people would not dare to get close to them. "Let's fight this demon to the death," the red poison humans roared wildly. However, just as he finished speaking, Chu Yang had already arrived in front of him. He conjured up layers of palm shadows and slapped the top of his head, directly smashing his head into his chest. "How is this possible? I actually died in such a manner?" That was Red Venom's last thought. He used his armor to protect his vitals, guarding against Chu Yang's bullet string. But in the end, Chu Yang didn't use any bullet string at all and killed him with a simple slap. "You want to kill me, right? All of you can die too." Bang bang bang. Chu Yang struck again, and the remaining two poison men were all dead. Among the 2,000 over people, the remaining 100 or so were scared out of their wits as they fled for their lives. Chu Yang did not chase after them. These people were no longer a threat. However, these people who were running away were all suddenly stopped in their track. "Why are you running away?" A man shrouded in mist appeared out of thin air. No one knew when he had appeared. Seeing this person, Chu Na, Chao Ju and the others narrowed their eyes. Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu and Long Feast on the two round platforms also narrowed their eyes. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on this person, the Peak Master of Wu Peak, Yu Jiarong. Yu Jiarong looked coldly at Chu Yang and said coldly, "Even the sect master must be killed. This person is lawless and is no different from an evil demon. No matter how talented he is, it's useless. He must be killed as a warning to others." "That's right. Rumble." At the same time, thunder rumbled in the sky. As the world shook, a middle-aged man with the mouth of a thunder god flew down from the sky. His eyes were burning with killing intent as he said coldly, "This person is reckless and unruly. If we don't kill him, our Five Elements sect will be no different from the Devil sect." Chapter 893. How can we convince the public if we don't kill him? The sect master's son is only one of the reasons. Nearly 2,000 disciples have died. We need to give them justice and an explanation. Freedom is relative. Freedom without any restrictions is destruction. This kid has already turned into a demon. If we don't get rid of him, he will bring disaster to the world. The Earth Element Peak's Peak Master Dongfang Ho, the Fire Element Peak Master Song Yangyan, the Medicine Peak Master Mu Hongyi, the White Tiger Peak, the Giant Peak, and the other Peak Masters who were in charge of hosting the successor competition this time, all the Peak Masters of the 5 inner peaks of the 5 Elements sect had appeared at this moment. Apart from the 15 Peak Masters, the elders of the 5 Elements sect were present as well. Du Guangguang, come here. Junior sisterling, don't get involved in this. Long Feast and Sui Yunfu spoke one after another, calling Du Guangbua of Thousands Word Peak and Ling Ling Dai of Lotus Peak over. Behind him, Chao Rong also spoke out, everyone from the Wood Element Peak, listen up. Come to me. Led by the Peak Masters and Elders of the 5 Elements sect, the disciples of the 5 Elements sect were divided into 2 camps. One camp was led by Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui by Sansi Yu Jiarong, and the others. The other camp was led by Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu, Long Feast, Du Guangbua, and Ling Lingdai. The disciples under their control quickly separated from each other. In an instant the scene was chaotic, but orderly. In an instant, Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui, Yu Jiarong, and the others gathered together with the disciples of the 5 Elements sect. The atmosphere was extremely tense as the two sides confronted each other. Many disciples of the 5 Elements sect could hardly breathe. 2 old men who were hiding in the dark saw this scene. One of the old men said, "This is great. Almost half of the 5 Elements sect is targeting this brat. I would like to see how this brat will deal with it. If he can deal with it easily, there's no need to hesitate." That's right. Jun Tiancho should be convinced now. The 2 old men were talking about Chu Yang and Jun Tiancho, the sect master of the 5 Elements sect. However, they didn't know their true intentions. Yu Jiarong, the peak master of Mist Peak, glared at Sui Yunfu and the others. Sui Yunfu, what are you doing? Are you trying to split the 5 Elements sect? Fire Element Peak Lord Song Yangyan also stared coldly at Chao Rong and said coldly, "Chao Rong, your son Chao Ju and Chu Yang are close friends. But in the face of righteousness, you still want to be biased? You are planning to become a sinner of the 5 Elements sect." Song Yangyan, Lu Tianrui by Sansi, and Dongfang Ho were the peak masters of the 5 inner peak. Their words carried more weight than Chao Ju and the others. Chao Rong snorted coldly and said, "I was just about to ask you this. What is the meaning of this? Do you think that not enough of the 5 Elements sect's disciples have died? Do you still want to send the 5 Elements sect's disciples to their deaths? Ridiculous." Earth Peak Master Dongfang Ho sneered, "It's just Chu Yang. Even if he's made of iron, how many nails can he crush? Are you blind?" Chao Rong pointed at the corpses on the ground. How many nails did he crush just now? After saying that, Chao Rong said in a clear voice, "Disciples of the 5 Elements sect, listen up. Whether Chu Yang is an evil spirit or not, and how to punish him, will be decided by the Sovereign, the Supreme Elder, the Golden Elder, and the Adjudicating Elder. Don't get involved in this matter." After a pause, he continued, "Those who cherish their lives and don't want to die, come to me." Whoosh! Chao Rong leaped into the air, arriving at the neutral ground in an instant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Chapter 894. Rumble. The 5 Elements sect disciples who were about to move suddenly stopped when they heard the majestic sound of thunder. Then, they saw the peak master of Sky Thunder Peak, Yu Jingfu, fly into a rage. Lightning flashed around him as he pointed at Sui Yunfu and the others. "Sui Yunfu, what is the meaning of this? Are you really going to be stubborn and insist on helping a homicidal maniac?" Sui Yunfu's expression was cold as he looked at the 5 Elements sect disciples. "Yu Jingfu, I also want to ask you what is the meaning of this. Are you planning to use these 5 elements sect disciples as cannon fodder and send them to their deaths to pave the way for you? Let me ask you again, Yu Jingfu. Since you don't have the confidence to kill Chu Yang, why are you acting rashly? What is your intention? Acting rashly? Yu Jingfu sneered. He's just a little devil. So what if he's monstrous? How can he be a match for us? Sui Yunfu looked at Yu Jingfu coldly. Since you're confident, what does it have to do with you if I let the disciples come to my side? Indeed, it doesn't matter. Song Yongyan sneered. Sui Yunfu, we still don't know what you're thinking. You just want to use this righteous method to help that little devil. At this moment, an impatient voice intervened. Can you guys debate another time? Chu Yang. Everyone's pupils shrank involuntarily. Chu Yang was still acting like this at this time? Chu Na almost fainted when she heard this. She wanted nothing more than to tear off Chu Yang's 2 ears. That bastard Chu is indeed the bastard Chu. No one can be as arrogant as him in the entire eastern wilderness. Chao Ju, Silver Wolf, and the others had completely lost their temper. The parrot was originally watching Chu Yang being besieged by the 5 Elements sect. The parrot was almost scared out of its wits when it saw so many people. After hearing Chu Yang's words and tone, it was completely convinced. He is indeed worthy of being called an awesome person who cut off its 2 wings. Most people could only cut off 2 of its wings, but they would never let it roast its own parrot wings. Chu Yang let out a long yawn. While stretching, he said, "You're making me sleepy. All right, I'll be the judge for all of you. All of you go." Everyone's eyes bulged. Chu Yang was simply indescribable. They're all just rotten eggs and rotten sweet potatoes. Chu Yang looked at the vast number of people from the 5 Elements sect and laughed evilly. However, you stinky sweet potatoes and rotten bird eggs still have some use. 1 person against 1 sect. I haven't tried it yet. I reckon I can create another record and create a legend, beautiful, truly beautiful. Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu, and the others wanted to go over and tear that little bastard Chu Yang into pieces. He was too heartless. However, instead of rebuking Chu Yang, they were rebuked by Chu Yang. Goat! Sloppy King! Du Guang Guang! Chu Yang pointed at them one by one. When it came to Chao Rong, Chao Ju's father, he said, "Then, the father of a certain idiot, all of you can come together. Otherwise, future generations will say that my record is exaggerated and not intimidating enough." Now, he was actually thinking about this matter. Many people from the 5 Elements sect finally saw how unreliable Chu Yang was in the rumors. As for Sui Yunfu, Long Fis, Du Guangbua, and Chao Rong, they were completely speechless. They couldn't even be angry. They had never met such a bastard before. Moreover, this bastard didn't seem to have eyes. There were at least a few 100,000 people from the 5 Elements sect in the Second Circle Secret Realm. Could it be that this little bastard didn't feel any pressure at all? Chapter 895. Humph, do you really think you're invincible? Yu Jingfu's voice rang out again. Chu Yang glared at him. You bastard, where did you get the confidence to say that to this young master? Many people were confused. This should be Yu Jingfu questioning you. Where did you get the confidence to boast shamelessly in front of so many people? Killing all the elders of a sect, it's not like I haven't done this before. Chu Yang looked at Yu Jingfu with disdain. Fellow rats, please be mentally prepared. Chu Yang really didn't expect the 5 Elements sect to be infiltrated to such an extent. Killing all the elders of a sect? Lu Tianrue mocked. Bastard, do you have the ability to do so? You were only able to kill so many elders of the Soul Devourer clan because you borrowed the souls of millions to trigger the Red Lotus karmic fire. Chu Yang laughed mockingly. Do you think you can trigger the Red Lotus karmic fire just because you want to? If he didn't have the genius martial spirit and the idiot martial spirit, he would have been a dead man. As for now, His two martial spirits had turned into the divine demon martial spirits, and he had completed the third soul evolution. Of course, he was no longer the same person as before. Besides, even if the peak masters and elders of the Five Elements sect worked together, and he was no match for them, who could stop him if he wanted to leave? With his speed, who in the Five Elements sect could catch up to him? What are you laughing at? Chu Yang's chuckle was too mocking. Lu Tianrui couldn't help but shout out in anger. The peak master of the water element peak, Lu Tianrui, right? Chu Yang looked at Lu Tianrui. You were like a chicken in my hands just now. What do you think I'm laughing at? Bastard, you just launched a sneak attack? Blood rushed to Lu Tianrui's face. This was a great humiliation to him. Bai Sansi also felt humiliated. Chu Yang was looking down on Lu Tianrui, which was the same as looking down on him. Previously, he and Lu Tianrui couldn't fight back in front of Chu Yang, losing all face. Sneak attack? Chu Yang was amused. He crooked his finger at Lu Tianrui and said, "Come here. I'll give you a chance to experience my terror. Don't worry. Even if you make a move, you'll lose. I won't take your life later. I guarantee it with my integrity." As he spoke, Chu Yang raised one of his hands and waved it at Lu Tianrui. "Do you see this hand of mine? I'll give you 3 moves later, and you can use your full strength. After 3 moves, this hand of mine will send you flying with a single slap." Bai Sansi, Lu Tianrui, and the others were at the same level as the many elders of the Soul Devourer clan. Most of them were at the 9th level of the Soul Reincarnation realm, and none of them were at the Spirit realm. Thus, Chu Yang didn't put them in his eyes at all. Who was Lu Tianrui? The peak master of the 5 Elements sect's water element peak. He had broken through to the Soul Reincarnation realm a long time ago, and had been in charge of the water element peak for over a dozen years. Which one of them didn't give him face? When had he ever been looked down upon like this? Not only did Lu Tianrui promise not to kill him, Lu Tianrui even gave him 3 moves, but Lu Tianrui even predicted which hand he would use to send him flying. What a bully! Killing intent flashed through Lu Tianrui's eyes. With a boom, his body exploded and water's spiritual energy soared into the sky. Suddenly, he pointed out with his finger and the spiritual energy turned into an icy sword aura. It went straight for Chu Yang's heart. Although it was just a point, the spiritual energy instantly turned into an icy sword. The sword aura overflowed. As the icy sword aura exploded, sword images appeared everywhere. With a point of his finger, it enveloped the entire area. Chapter 896. Before it arrived, there were ice shards falling from the sky. Mist curled up and completely covered the sacred ice sword. It made the sacred ice sword look like an assassin hiding in the mist. Bang! Chu Yang did not move. The sacred ice sword pierced through him and exploded the air. However, that was only Chu Yang's illusion. At this moment, Chu Yang had already appeared on Lu Tianrui's left. No one saw how he dodged, and no one knew how he arrived on Lu Tianrui's left. Song Yangyan, Bai Sansi, Dongfang Ho, and the others couldn't help but frown. Lu Tianrui, this is the first move. I'll take the initiative to come to your left so that you can use the second move to your heart's content. Otherwise, you'll say that I bullied you. Chu Yang was calm and composed. Bastard, how dare you look down on me and humiliate me? Lu Tianrui's face was ferocious. He quickly formed a seal with his hands, forming a huge crystal-clear ice lotus. As soon as the ice lotus appeared, the surrounding temperature plummeted. It was as if the surrounding area was frozen. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The ice lotus suddenly spun, creating a sharp whistling sound. It directly slashed over and exploded with a rumble, creating a huge crater on the ground. However, there was no sign of Chu Yang at the crater. I'm on your right. No need to look. Chu Yang had unknowingly appeared on Lu Tianrui's right. Ice Dragon Heart Gouging Claw. Lu Tianrui didn't even think and pounced over. His hand formed a claw, and the spiritual energy on his sharp nails formed a long hook. He was going to dig out Chu Yang's heart. However, he missed again. Chu Yang took another step forward. Trash, 3 moves have passed. I'm going to attack. Lu Tianrui, pay attention to your right face. Chu Yang's voice sounded again. Bastard! Lu Tianrui roared and did not dodge. He threw a punch forward. It was so heavy that it rumbled in the air. A lake appeared on his fist. The lake seemed to be real, and the waves were clear and crystalline. Suddenly, an ice dragon rushed out from the lake, bringing with it a huge wave. Lake Martial Spirit! Lake Martial Spirit, and a dragon is hidden in the lake. It was as if a real lake had crashed into it. Many people's eyes widened when they saw the lake. Many people knew that Lu Tianrui had a lake martial spirit. Before Chu Yang left the 5 Elements sect, Chao Ju made a bet with Lu Tianrui and obtained the martial spirit visualization diagram of Lu Tianrui's lake. There were probably not many people in the 5 Elements sect who did not know about this. Lake martial spirit, this must be your strongest move. This is the best. As Chu Yang spoke, he raised his hand and slapped out. With a swing of the palm, everyone felt a gust of wind blow past them. Everyone saw a huge whirlpool appear in the void, but the whirlpool had already been thrown behind a huge palm. A blood-curdling scream. The ice dragon instantly exploded, and so did the lake. What? Amidst the loud rumbling, Lu Tianrui flew out and rolled on the ground. His face was completely swollen. He used all his strength to attack, but Chu Yang simply raised his hand and slapped him. Trash! Chu Yang looked down at Lu Tianrui, who was knocked to the ground by his slap. Was that a sneak attack? You can't even take a slap from me. You're not worthy of my sneak attack. You! Lu Tianrui was ashamed and angry. He still could not believe that he was defeated like this, but the piercing pain on his face had yet to recede. Don't be too agitated. This is normal, so you don't have to feel ashamed to live, and you don't have to commit suicide. Chu Yang's serious expression made many people speechless again. But for Chao Ju and the others, it was very familiar. This was very Chu Yang. Chapter 897. The parrot looked at him in disdain. He couldn't accept such a blow. This divine bird had experienced worse. Little bastard, go to hell! Just as Chu Yang was feeling complacent and careless, Bai Sansi made his move. White Tiger Gung Metal Slash. His Gung Metal spiritual energy burst out violently. Suddenly, the cold light was extremely dazzling. The world was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. The extremely sharp Gung Metal spiritual energy turned into a white tiger and bit down on Chu Yang's head. This attack was unexpected and had been planned for a long time. It was like a peerless assassin's peerless attack. It would either succeed or die. No one expected that there would be such a sudden move, so no one reacted. Chu Yang, you bastard! When Chao Ju and the others shouted to remind him, it was already too late. Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu, and the others didn't expect it and didn't react. However, Song Yangyan, Yu Jingfu, and the others were already laughing. He was so proud and arrogant that he wouldn't even know how he died. He really didn't know what to do. Rumble! The white tiger formed by the power of Gung Metal pounced down and bit down on Chu Yang's entire head. It also bit down on the air, causing a loud noise and a huge ripple in the void. At this time, everyone only saw that the white tiger formed by Sansi's Gung Metal spiritual energy was biting down on Chu Yang's loneliness and emptiness. It was just an illusion. Sneak attack? You're playing a sneak attack in front of me. Don't you know that I'm the expert and professor in this field? You actually want to teach me a lesson? Are you out of your mind? The voice came from the void. Then Chu Yang appeared. He raised his hand and slapped the old man's face. Buzz. Bai Sansi immediately released his domain, but his domain was like a piece of paper in front of Chu Yang. It was directly penetrated by Chu Yang's palm and slapped hard on his face. In an instant, Bai Sansi felt as if he had been hit by a mountain. His head was almost spun like a top, and his neck was almost broken. All the teeth in his mouth flew out. While he was still flying in the air, Chu Yang had already caught up with him. He kept moving at high speed and slapped Bai Sansi's face. Sneak attack! Sneak attack! Sneak attack! If I don't teach you how to write these words today, there will be a stain on my life. Bang! Bai Sansi finally landed on the ground. His entire body was in intense pain, but he felt that he was free. If he continued to be slapped like this, he was afraid that he would be slapped to death. Bang! Chu Yang stepped on his lower abdomen. He was in so much pain that his body arched like a bow. Why are you so useless? It's fine if you can't take a slap, but your face is so fragile. I just slapped you a few times and your face is almost dead. Everyone was immediately dumbfounded. They had never seen someone like Chu Yang. He was about to fan death to death, yet he still complained that the other party was impatient. Bastard, you! At this moment, Bai Sansi was injured, and his heart was even more hurt. He was extremely humiliated. However, he was even more shocked. Why was Chu Yang so terrifying? Just a mere slap was enough to send him flying. In fact, he couldn't even see what kind of technique Chu Yang had used. Are you surprised? Why is my slap so powerful? Chu Yang said loudly. I'll tell you in a low voice. This is called the palm divine technique. It's used to slap people. I've always relied on this palm divine technique to roam the martial world. I swept across the East Baron. Palm divine art. Chao Ju and the others were speechless again. They were too familiar with such ridicule. Anyone who knew Chu Yang would know that he was the kind of person who would bully others until they wanted to die. The parrot felt it the most. It commented, "This is child's play. Little bastard." Chu Yang grabbed Bai Sansi and threw him to the parrot. He said, "Teach this thing how to write these words. Show off your broadsword in front of Master Guan." The hairless parrot immediately became the focus of the crowd. The parrot was very depressed. This was not what it wanted. If Chu Yang died, it would die too, and that would attract too much hatred. Alright. It could only shout happily. My lord is wise. I'm the best at this. Chu Yang. At this moment, a deep voice was heard. It was like muffled thunder, filled with supreme majesty and intimidating. Everyone who heard it could not help but be frightened, and their bodies stiffened. Chapter 898. Jun Wudao, you're finally willing to come out. I thought that you would be a coward for the rest of your life. As Chu Yang spoke with disdain, Jun Wudao finally appeared. He came from the outside of the second circle secret realm, as if he had descended from the heavens. The void fluctuated as if time and space were making way for him, making him look like a god that had descended from the heavens. Although the space-time fluctuation wasn't caused by Jun Wudao, but by the space-time transmission gate, it still made everyone feel suffocated. Thump, 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 thump. Within the second circle secret realm, the hearts of many five-element sect's disciples couldn't help but jump. They didn't know if it was because of nervousness, excitement, worship, or something else. At this moment, even they themselves didn't know. Jun Wudao had finally appeared. The god's child of the five-element sect made people feel suffocated. He was an existence that was high above. The person that the five-element sect's disciples usually saw was him. This was his real body. Previously, he had appeared once because of Chu Yang. Many of the five-element sect's disciples already knew that he had shockingly broken through to the spirit stage and even reached the third level of the spirit stage. He wasn't someone that ordinary people could compare to. Even many of the peak masters and elders of the five-element sect were inferior to him. If it wasn't for Chu Yang's appearance, there was no doubt that he would be the next sect master of the five-element sect. No one could go against this. This was a person that could take charge of the entire five-element sect. A supreme genius. Although he was still far away, Chu Yang could feel a great pressure pressing down on him. It was as if a mountain range was crashing down on him one after another. If it wasn't for Chu Yang, anyone else would have already vomited blood and knelt down. However, such a pressure was nothing more than a gust of wind to Chu Yang. Buzz! A loud sound rang out. Jun Wudao appeared in front of everyone and revealed his figure. He was a 22-year-old young man with an extraordinary temperament. His face was extremely pale and sickly pale. His features were chiseled, and at this moment, he looked like a heavenly god, like a heavenly pillar propping up the dome of heaven. His aura and the pressure he emanated caused others to prostrate themselves on the ground and prostrate themselves in worship. When Chu Yang saw Jun Wudao again, it had been less than 7 days, but he could feel that Jun Wudao's aura was much stronger than before. He was improving, and so was Jun Wudao. This is a great enemy. The leisurely look on Chu Yang's face disappeared, and countless rays of light burst forth from his eyes. His back was straight and his hands were behind his back. It was as if there was a peerless divine spear hidden in his body. At this moment, it revealed its sharpness, as if even the blue sky would be pierced by him. So strong, so strong. These two are so strong. They are like the gods of the immemorial divine mountain. Jun Wudao and Chu Yang's aura were equally matched, but many of the five-element sect's disciples couldn't bear it. They were struggling to hold on, and some of them were on the verge of collapse. Jun Wudao fell on the opposite side of Chu Yang and confronted Chu Yang. He suddenly stared at Chu Yang with vicious and ferocious eyes. Around his body, a huge amount of five-element spiritual qi was circulating and penetrating into the void. It seemed that every spiritual qi was a divine bridge, allowing him to integrate with heaven and earth. Chapter 899. Rumble. The sound was like thunder, like the heavens, oppressing Chu Yang. The people present did not know what was going on with Chu Yang. What they knew was that at this moment, they only felt that they had committed a great sin. They only felt that they deserved to die, and their hearts were incomparably terrified. Humph! Chu Yang fiercely waved his hand like driving away a fly, and the oppressive pressure from Jun Wudao disappeared. His eyes were like two javelins staring at Jun Wudao. Jun Wudao, put away these little tricks. You can only use them to bully some weak chickens. Do you think this is useful against me? His voice was filled with disdain, and even a trace of laziness, spreading throughout the whole place. Countless disciples of the Five Elements sect heard Chu Yang's voice, and each of them smiled bitterly in their hearts. It seems that I can only be a weak chicken in front of people like Chu Yang and Jun Wudao, or even worse, they can kill me with a raise of their hand. Chao Ju, Sui Yunfu, Long Feast, Bai Sansi, Lu Tianrui, Dongfang Ho, Song Yangyan, and others, at this time, did not dare to say anything, and did not dare to be presumptuous. They did not dare to intervene between the two. Chu Yang and Jun Wudao were already out of their control. At this time, Chao Ju, Silver Wolf, Jin Duo and the others also looked at the two without blinking. As for the parrot now, it did not dare to make a sound. Arrogance depends on the person. Jun Wudao in front of it obviously could not be presumptuous in front of him, otherwise it would be death. Of course, this was even more so for a wicked bastard like Chu Yang. If it dared to be presumptuous, it must be because of Chu Yang. In the parrot's view, Chu Yang was far more terrifying than Jun Wudao, and it already knew who would win and who would lose. It was definitely Chu Yang. However, it did not have any basis, and only relied on its own feelings. In the face of Chu Yang's disdain, Jun Wudao did not immediately refute. His eyes became sharper, like a sword, as if he wanted to see through Chu Yang. The battle here is not important. It doesn't matter if I win, it doesn't matter if I lose. The one who will decide who will be the master of the eastern wilderness is not me, But you, if you can beat Chu Yang, then you will be the master of the Eastern Wilderness, and the entire Eastern Wilderness will be ours. But if you lose everything. This was what Jun Wudao's uncle. Jun Wudao's eldest uncle was the sect master of the Five Elements sect, Jun Tianqiu. Her second uncle was the sect master of the Soul Devourer sect, Jun Tianhen. Her father was the sect master of the Thousand Devil sect. His second uncles and father's names were fake names. These were their real names. Originally, Jun Tianqiu's three fathers had different opinions on how to deal with Chu Yang. Jun Tianqiu's uncle wanted to kill Chu Yang, unify the Eastern Wilderness, and enslave the entire Eastern Wilderness. Then, the Eastern Wilderness would be infuriated, and a savior would appear, who would be revered by the people of the Eastern Wilderness. Jun Tianqiu's plan was to kill Chu Yang, unify the Eastern Wilderness, and then change his identity, overthrow his own dynasty, and establish a new one. Jun Wudao's father and uncle wanted to subdue Chu Yang, unify the Eastern Wilderness, and use Chu Yang's revered status to promote themselves. For example, Chu Yang was only their servant, and Chu Yang's actions were all ordered by them. In this way, they would also gain the respect of the entire Eastern Wilderness. No matter which option they chose, they would have to change their identities. As for their identities, they didn't care. For example, their current surname wasn't their original surname. It was only because the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness had ascended to the throne of the Eastern Wilderness that they took Jun as their surname. Jun Wudao's original surname was Chu, just like Chu Yang's. He knew this, but he didn't know that there was a council of elders in their clan. What was even more unexpected to him was that the former sect leader of the Five Elements sect, who was supposed to be dead, and the four emperors of the four kingdoms, who were either dead or missing, would suddenly jump out at the same time. Chapter 900. At that moment, Jun Wudao's three fathers were fighting in a secret subdimension of the Jun family. The Grand Elder, the Gold Elder, the Judiciary Elder, the Seven Stars sect, the Longhu sect, and even the demon race were all involved in the fight. If that was all, the demon race was already under their control. However, the Elders' Council had suddenly appeared. The Council of Elders made everything confusing, especially when the Council of Elders had clearly told his three fathers something, and now it had turned out this way. The Jun family had planned for generations, and whether they could unify the Eastern Wilderness and dominate the Eastern Wilderness depended on whether he could defeat Chu Yang in today's battle. What virtue and ability did Chu Yang have? What right did he have to steal the planning and hard work of several generations of their clan with just one battle? Jun Wudao didn't think that he couldn't defeat Chu Yang. He just felt that it was unfair. He wanted to see how strong this Chu Yang, who was valued by the Council of Elders, was and how amazing he was. Chu Yang, if you want to fight me, then let's see if you're qualified to fight me. Suddenly, Jun Wudao sneered, and with a rumbling sound, an enormous energy field erupted. His hand shot towards Chu Yang, and then he flipped it over. Suddenly, the space around him changed, and Chu Yang felt as if he were about to be flipped upside down, spinning heaven and earth. Jun Wudao's hand was incomparably white and looked very soft, but it contained an indescribable power, an extremely terrifying power. With a flip of her hand, ripples spread out in all directions, as if the space above and below were about to be reversed. At that moment, Jun Wudao had an aura of dominating the world. In an instant, Chu Yang could feel the sharpness and powerful spiritual power emanating from his body. He also suddenly saw that the qi of heaven and earth around Jun Wudao was very complicated. He even saw the dangerous changes in the world. In the depths of the sky, there were countless vortexes that seemed like they could easily suck in a mountain. He also felt a powerful force erupting from Jun Wudao's body. As Jun Wudao breathed, Chu Yang watched as rays of sunlight entered him, transforming into warm vital energy that became part of his life force essence. At the same time, the world's essence followed Jun Wudao's breathing and entered his body, constantly washing away the impurities in his body. At every moment, Jun Wudao's body was spotless, both inside and outside. Without relying on all kinds of food, without relying on medicinal pills, without eating the food of the mortal world, and by gathering the essence of the sun, the moon, and the essence of heaven and earth, one could maintain one's life. Is this the spirit stage? You're already completely otherworldly. The spirit realm was the formation of the spirit soul. A martial artist would have a divine bridge that connected them to the heavens and earth. They would be able to freely absorb the world's yuan qi. It was as if the heavens and earth were their own world, and they would be able to use the world's spirit qi without any restraints. This was equivalent to climbing up a tree, and they would be able to use the heavens to intimidate others. In this realm, not only would one be otherworldly, but they would also be able to see through the smallest details. They would even have a slight understanding of spacetime, and they would be able to absorb the energy of different dimensions. Spacetime could not be easily interfered with. Naturally, the spirit stage could not do so as well. In fact, they might not even be able to see the appearance of spacetime, but they would be able to see the big picture and see the big picture. Jun Wudao's heaven and earth spinning technique was similar to Chu Yang's sky flipping seal. The only difference was that Jun Wudao was using the advantage of his realm to bully Chu Yang. If Chu Yang couldn't even deal with this, then he naturally wouldn't be qualified to fight with Jun Wudao. Jun Wudao really wanted to try and see if Chu Yang was qualified to fight with him. Chapter 901. I've been completely underestimated. Chu Yang was too lazy to care about Jun Wudao's anger. He sneered. Jun Wudao, you want to see if I have the qualifications to fight with you, right? Then open your eyes wide and take a good look. 1. Ripples surged out from Chu Yang's forehead. His mental energy surged out and released into the world. Then, he spat out a word. Freeze! 1. An inexplicable power clashed and created ripples in the air. At the same time, Jun Wudao's feeling of the world turning upside down completely disappeared. At this moment, everyone only felt that Chu Yang and Jun Wudao were like two armies confronting each other. They were fighting over an important place of life and death. If one side occupied it, the other would immediately take it back. This cycle repeated endlessly until one side died. 1. The ripples in the air became even larger. It sounded like the battle cries of the two armies. It also sounded like the blood of the two armies flowing into a river. Behind Jun Wudao, 3 divine bridges entered the void and connected her to the heaven and earth. Chu Yang's entire body seemed to be a big array. Every acupoint was an array seal. His internal organs were also array seals. His meridians and bones were array patterns. His entire body seemed to be a huge array seal. It was as if he was embedded in the void. If the entire world was Jun Wudao's paradise, then the entire world was Chu Yang's huge array. Rank 5 Array Master. A Rank 5 Array Master could fight against a Spirit Stage expert. With the help of an array, they could kill a Spirit Stage expert. Although there was no array, a Rank 5 Array Master like Chu Yang's understanding of the world was definitely not inferior to Jun Wudao. In fact, it was far superior to Jun Wudao. Therefore, even without the formation, it was impossible for Jun Wudao to suppress Chu Yang with the advantage of being at the spirit stage and the connection between the heavens and the earth. Rank 5 Array Master. This little bastard is already a Rank 5 Array Master. How is this possible? Long Feast's eyes bulged, and his mouth opened so wide that a rock could be stuffed in. He majored in formations, so he was the most sensitive to the fluctuations of formations. Therefore, he was the first person to see through what Chu Yang was relying on. At the same time, he was the one who was the most shocked. Even Long Feast, an old man, had not reached the 5th tier Array Master level. How could he not be shocked when Chu Yang had already reached it? Long Feast couldn't help but recall that in the Huanma's secret territory, Chu Yang had formed the heaven, earth, and man seals the first time he tried to form an array seal and fused the three seals together. Only then did he form various basic seals from top to bottom. For Chu Yang, the basic seal technique was not difficult at all. He did not need to learn it at all. Therefore, he knew very well how long Chu Yang had been studying array formations. From Long Feast's calculation, Chu Yang had only used half a year to become a rank 5 array master. As for him, he was already old. He was about to die of old age, but he was only at the peak of a rank 4 array master. $$, $$. Long Feast lost his composure and cursed loudly. God, aren't you being too biased? This little bastard has only been studying array formations for half a year, and he's already a rank 5 array master. Can you be even more ridiculous? Chapter 902. The 5 Elements sect disciples were stunned when they saw Long Feast stomping his feet and cursing. They did not mock him because a level 5 array master was too shocking. Especially when they heard that Chu Yang had only used half a year to become a level 5 array master. This made their minds go blank. Sui Yunfu and Du Guangbua couldn't laugh either. If it was in the past, they would have laughed and looked down on Long Feast. However, they understood Long Feast's feelings too well right now. Long Feast had painstakingly studied arrays and put all his thoughts on arrays. He had no time to care about other things. He was usually very sloppy and was called Sloppy Big Uncle by Chu Yang. However, he had not obtained what he had diligently sought, while Chu Yang had obtained it so easily. They could imagine how he felt. At this time, Bai Sansi and Lu Tianrui completely understood why they could not even take a slap from Chu Yang. Not to mention other things, just the fact that he was a level 5 array master was something they could not handle. Little brother is already a level 5 array master? Chu Na, who was in the crowd, was also shocked. She had never expected this. However, none of them knew about Chu Yang's experience, nor did they know that Chu Yang had the heaven-defying Destiny Twins martial spirit. With his powerful deduction ability, whether it was arrays or martial arts, it was too easy for Chu Yang. Fuck! The parrot was also cursing. This immoral son of a bitch has a trump card. I knew it. Look at this immoral son of a bitch. If he dares to be so arrogant, how can he not have some tricks up his sleeve? I can't rebel. I can't rebel even if I'm beaten to death. The parrot made up its mind and said, if I don't understand this immoral son of a bitch, I can't rebel even if you beat me to death. However, it suddenly thought of how easily Chu Yang had dealt with the desolate demons and the sea god on Emperor Island. With just a sleep, he had killed 2 big shots that the great emperor of the eastern wilderness had not been able to kill for so many years. Its thoughts of rebellion were completely extinguished. This immoral son of a bitch was an existence that made it despair. Jun Wudao, you can put away this little trick of yours. Chu Yang said scornfully, you don't have the ability to suppress me with just this. As for my ability, you've already seen it. Do I have the qualifications to teach you a lesson? You're just a level 5 array master. Chu Yang, you're just qualified to fight me. Jun Wudao was furious. You don't have the ability to teach me a lesson. Shua. As soon as he moved, the 5-colored spirit chi under his feet surged and exploded into a 5-colored light. When he moved, his body moved like lightning, and a 5-colored radiance flashed, as if a 5-colored god was flashing. Shua. Chu Yang also used the 5 elements spirit chi, and his body also shone with a 5-colored radiance. He also looked like a 5-colored god. The two of them flashed repeatedly in mid-air, creating afterimages and countless afterimages. However, the strange thing was that the two of them did not exchange blows. Instead, it was as if the two of them were competing to see whose footwork was more dazzling and cool. 5 Elements Heaven Ascending Steps. Almost at the same time, the peak masters and elders of the 5 Elements sect instantly recognized Jun Wudao's footwork. This footwork was one of the 5 Elements sect's secret technique. At the very least, one needed to cultivate the various elements of the 5 elements and make them circulate in order to be able to use it. This footwork was naturally exquisite, and there were few footwork techniques in the eastern wilderness that could compare to it. Chapter 903. Chu Yang seems to be using the 5 elements heaven ascending steps as well. His 5 elements heaven ascending steps seems to be even more exquisite. Turning left instead of right, and turning right instead of left, it's very easy to confuse others and even cause them to feel a sense of confusion. What kind of footwork is that? It's definitely the 5 elements heaven ascending step. However, this little bastard has made great improvements to the 5 elements heaven ascending steps and incorporated many of his own things into it. The sudden appearance of the aged voice caused the people from the 5 elements sect to be stunned. When the others looked over, they were all dumbfounded. The one who spoke was the judiciary elder. At this moment, the hunchbacked judiciary elder narrowed his eyes and looked at Chu Yang like a deer stretching its neck. The judiciary elder wasn't the only one. When the judiciary elder suddenly appeared, many people couldn't help but exclaim, "Supreme Elder! Elder Jean! Sect Leader!" This wasn't the most shocking thing for the 5 Elements sect. They saw the resurrection of the dead. The 4 emperors of the 4 countries. Emperor Wei of Wei country. Emperor Wu of Wu country. Emperor Qi of Qi country. Emperor Han of Korea. Old sect leader. Other than the 4 emperors of the 4 countries, there were many other people whose identities were unknown. However, all of them had powerful auras. When Yun Fu, Long Feast, Chao Ju, and the others looked at one of them carefully, they couldn't help but exclaim. The 5 Elements sect was shocked. Hadn't the previous sect leader of the 5 Elements sect died many years ago? Everyone was shocked. Don't make a fuss over nothing. The previous sect leader of the 5 Elements sect said, "I just saw 2 outstanding juniors and couldn't help but come out to take a look." His words dispelled the doubts in the hearts of the 5 Elements sect disciples. The previous sect leader's death should be a cover. He just retired before he died. As for the others, the 5 Elements sect disciples couldn't recognize them at all. Many of them were even wearing masks. They definitely didn't want to expose their identities. It could be said that those who were supposed to be here were all here. The 5 Elements sect disciples couldn't help but feel relieved. With the previous sect leader of the 5 Elements sect, the current sect leader, the Supreme Elder and Elder Jean, it was impossible for anything uncontrollable to happen. At this moment, everyone calmed down and focused on the battle. However, they didn't know how many things had happened. They didn't know that both sides had stopped fighting and let Chu Yang and Jun Wudao decide the final result. Mysterious person. Supreme Elder, Gold Elder, and Judiciary Elder? The 4 emperors of the 4 countries. Uncle. Second uncle. Father. At the same time, Chu Yang and Jun Wudao couldn't help but be surprised. Jun Wudao knew the general process, but Chu Yang's face was full of confusion. Suddenly, all these big shots jumped out, and his mind was in a mess. His heart was full of questions, and it was like a dense cloud of fog. The 4 emperors of the 4 countries came back from the dead. This was still okay. After all, the mysterious person, the previous sect leader of the 5 Elements sect, had reminded him vaguely. However, what was the situation in front of him? The 2 sides were so close that they didn't seem to want to fight at all. What the hell is going on? Chu Yang shouted in his heart. The former sect leader of the 5 Elements sect saw that Chu Yang was confused and said, "Little bastard, focus. The victory or defeat depends on you. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Just remember this. Bullshit. Chu Yang was depressed. Curiosity was like a cat scratching his heart. He secretly transmitted a message to the parrot, and the parrot immediately jumped out. Pew! The parrot pointed at the former sect leader of the Five Elements sect with its featherless wings and shouted, "That thing, how dare you make my master confused? You deserve to die 10,000 times. You'd better start from the beginning, or I'll give you the number 1 set meal. I'll strip you naked and hang you up to dry." Whoosh! With that, the parrot fled. It cursed in its heart, that wicked thing. What did he want this divine bird to do? That thing is an old antique, the former sect leader of the Five Elements sect. If he eats this divine bird won't even have a place to cry. Ha ha! The parrot's fleeing appearance was ridiculous. It was like a fox stroking a tiger's whiskers and then running away. There's no need to compete with the Five Elements Heaven Ascension step. You're not as good as him. Jun Tiancho, the sect leader of the Five Elements sect, said in a thunderous voice. As soon as he spoke, Jun Wudao stopped in midair. Chapter 904. Who's stronger? Who's the strongest in the eastern wilderness? Chu Yang floated in the air like a cloud and said, "I don't care who's the strongest in the eastern wilderness. I don't like that title, but if you want to know who's stronger, I can give you a clear answer." After a slight pause, Chu Yang shook his head at Jun Wudao and said, "Jun Wudao, you're not strong enough." Then, he looked directly at Jun Tiancho, the sect master of the Five Elements sect, and said, "To be honest, I've been thinking about how to kill this bastard since the beginning." Jun Tiancho bastard? Chu Yang was going to kill Jun Tiancho of the Five Elements sect. At that moment, everyone present thought they had misheard. No wonder Chu Yang was so arrogant and even killed the sect master's son. Understanding was one thing, but everyone was still incomparably shaken and shocked. Chu Yang was simply, they couldn't describe him. Words like arrogant or savage couldn't describe Chu Yang's current conduct. "Chu Yang, how dare you!" Lu Tianrui, Song Yangyan, Bai Sansi, and Dongfang Ho were furious. Chao Ju, Sui Yunfu, Long Feast, and the others were also stunned. Even Jun Tiancho, the sect master of the Five Elements sect, was stunned. What a big heart! The Supreme Elder, the Golden Elder, the Judgment Elder, and the former sect leader of the Five Elements sect shook their heads and smiled bitterly after recovering from their shock. It was obvious that this little bastard Chu Yang had never held any hope for them at all. The two old men who had been hiding in the dark could not help but laugh. This boy is too arrogant. If he doesn't have the ability to match him, the consequences will be unimaginable. Judging from his behavior, he's not a brainless person. It seems that he really has some tricks up his sleeve. If that is the case, then this child is extraordinary. Our decision can only be said to be wise. In the field, Jun Tiancho, the sect master of the Five Elements sect, was stunned for a moment before he said, "Chu Yang, if you win against my Taoist sword, I will give you a chance to kill me. I will only attack and not defend. Let me see how strong you are." Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed out loud. "Sect leader, very good. Then wait for me, I promise to make your nephew accept his defeat wholeheartedly." "Chu Yang, don't be so arrogant." Jun Wudao was so disregarded that her lungs were about to explode. Smoke seemed to be coming out of her 7 orifices. "It's none of your business whether I'm savage or not." Chu Yang laughed and said, "Make your move, I'm still in a hurry to kill your uncle." "Damn you!" Jun Wudao trembled with anger. He was Jun Tiancho's nephew. Jun Tiancho wasn't necessarily his uncle. It was his uncle's fault? Such words were the greatest disrespect to him, as well as the greatest disdain and contempt. "It's none of your business whether I deserve to die or not. Just make your move. I'm still in a hurry to go, so don't waste my time." Everyone was speechless at Chu Yang's behavior. As for Chao Ju and the others, they could only say that this was very Chu Yang. Die. Rumble. Jun Wudao punched out in fury. Using the 5 elements heaven ascending steps, 5 colored light flashed around her as she punched straight at Chu Yang. Instantly, heaven and earth rumbled. This punch contained water, frost, snow, ice, water vapor, and so on. It was as if this punch contained all of the elements of water, converging them into a single point. Chapter 905. Rumble. As the punch came, huge waves appeared in the void, one after another. The water was vast, as if it was a flood, as if the Milky Way was pouring down in torrent. It was also as if a corner of the world of water had been opened. Good! Chu Yang also punched out a fist. The water's spiritual energy surged violently, and huge waves surged. The entire place was covered in a vast expanse of whiteness, and the sound of stormy waves was incessant. It was also a water fist. When the fist was thrown out, the river was like a dragon rushing to the east. The lake was vast and misty. Although there was no ice or snow, it was more vast and broad. In front of the fist, there seemed to be a vast ocean. All rivers in the sea. Chu Yang had the River Marshal Spirit Visualization Diagram and the Lake Marshal Spirit Visualization Diagram. The Lake Marshal Spirit Visualization Diagram was one from the Peak Master of the Water Element Peak. At first glance, the crowd felt as if they had jumped out of the heavens and earth, overlooking the whole world and seeing countless rivers rushing to the sea. Not giving an inch to an all, meeting force with force. The pupils of Jun Tianqiu, the sovereign of the 5 Elements sect, couldn't help but shrink. His nephew Jun Wudao had used the water element of the 5 elements, and Chu Yang had also used the water element to deal with it. It seemed that Chu Yang was deliberately trying to make his nephew Jun Wudao accept his defeat. It was a shocking sight. Jun Tianqiu was surprised when the 2 fists collided. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound, as if 2 torrents had collided. A water column shot up to the sky. At the same time, endless mist filled the air, shrouding the 2 of them in an instant. The collision between the 2 of them caused a huge explosion of energy. The water spiritual energy was completely vaporized into white mist. In an instant, the mist filled the air and covered the surroundings. It completely blocked one's line of sight and covered the 2 of them. The next moment, it was as if a big fireball rose from the horizon, dispelling the fog. Jun Wudao's figure appeared first, wrapped in raging flames. The raging flames burned a lot of moisture in the air, making crackling sounds. At this moment, Jun Wudao was like a living creature in the flames. The void there was like a piece of iron, burning red. It was scary to look at. Bang! Tongues of flame suddenly burst out and soared into the sky. On the other side, Chu Yang also quickly appeared. His body was not wrapped in flames, but the spirit chi in his fist was surging like magma. It was as if his fist was the mouth of a volcano. Without any words, the 2 of them exchanged blows again. As soon as the 2 of them came into contact, a boom rang out. It was as if flames had erupted. A wave of flames shot up into the sky and raged through the 9 heavens. The flames splashed out in all directions and fell into the crowd like a small boat returning late at night, startling a group of gulls and herons. Everyone cried out in alarm as they fled in all directions. Chaos ensued. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Immediately, Chu Yang's and Jun Wudao's fists changed at the same time. Both of them were filled with great vitality fluctuations. As the spiritual energy surged, a green radiance shone out. Both of their fists seemed to be divine seeds that were about to sprout, break out of the ground, and grow into giant trees. They would become heavenly pillars that would support the heavens. What are the 2 of them doing? Their moves and spiritual energy are exactly the same. How can a battle of life and death be so straightforward? There's nothing else. Are the 2 of them fighting each other? Many people felt that something was wrong. The 2 former and current sect leaders of the 5 Elements sect, as well as the Supreme Elder, Elder Gold, and the Elder of the Judiciary, had already seen it clearly. The two of them were deliberately trying to convince each other. They were competing in terms of strength and ruthlessness. Who was stronger in water? Who was stronger? 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 Rumble. Chapter 906. This time, at the center of the collision, a green light soared into the sky. A giant tree suddenly grew out of the center of the collision, reaching straight into the sky. Although it was only for a moment, everyone was fiercely shocked by this scene. The battle between these two had actually produced such a miraculous scene. At the same time, it made everyone almost suffocate. These two were simply too strong, too strong. It was not an exaggeration to say that the battle between these two would determine who was the strongest person in the eastern wilderness. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were the 5 most basic elements in the world. The 5 elements were also the most basic element. Every martial artist would come into contact with them. The 5 elements were not rare, but the 5 elements were easy to understand but difficult to master. If one could comprehend the essence of the 5 elements, it would turn something rotten into something magical. Its power would be astonishing and no one could resist it. But how difficult was it to comprehend the essence of the 5 elements? Among millions of people, perhaps only 2 or 3 could do it. Chu Yang and Jun Wudao, these two were obviously 2 of those 2 or 3. The battle between the 5 elements and the wood element had actually produced such a miraculous scene. I understand, these two are competing with the 5 element. They have abandoned all their moves and are competing with the profound meaning of the 5 elements. 5 elements sect, 5 elements sect, we are all disciples of 5 elements sect, and the 5 elements are the most basic and also the most profound meaning of our 5 elements sect. Whoever has the better understanding of the 5 elements will be the strongest, and that person will be the number 1 genius of 5 elements sect. These two should be going all out, clashing head-on. Each of their attacks is real, without the slightest bit of exaggeration. They are both holding a ruthless force, wanting to beat each other until they are convinced. In a life-and-death battle between martial artists there were all kinds of tricks and combinations. How could it be like this? Each of their attacks was so direct, clashing head-on. Now, Chu Yang and Jun Wudao were like 2 people. One could lift 1,000 gene cauldron, the other could lift 1,000 gene cauldron. This was not a life-and-death battle at all, but they were showing off to each other. However, this kind of showing off was also the most dangerous kind of showing off. The fight between the two of them was now a contest of the most fundamental nature. It didn't look like much, but it was extremely dangerous. If one's understanding of the 5 elements was not as good as the others, they would immediately be seriously injured upon contact. They would suffer a crushing defeat, and there would be no turning back. At that moment, everyone from the 5 elements sect could see how dangerous the battle between the two was. They couldn't help but hold their breaths as they stared at the 2 people in the air without blinking. Perhaps in the next moment, the outcome of the battle between the two would be decided. Without any words, Chu Yang and Jun Wudao exchanged blows again. Their fists were covered in a yellow mist, but in the center of their fists, there seemed to be a black and yellow aura lingering. Their fists were extremely heavy at this moment. Their fists were like a mountain and a star. When the crowd looked over, they immediately felt a great weight and heaviness. It was as if their gazes had been distorted by this heaviness. In fact, their gazes had been crushed and broken. Rumble! Heaven and earth shook. The loud sound was like an avalanche, like a landslide, like a continuous thunderclap. Dazzling light burst out, and in the center of the light, a towering mountain appeared, as if it was real. It was as if the two of them had moved a mountain in front of the crowd. The magical scene appeared again. The fight between Chu Yang and Jun Wudao was getting more and more intense, and the sparks that flew out were getting more and more dazzling, dazzling everyone's eyes. After the 4 elements of the 5 elements, water, fire, wood, and earth, it was just as people had expected. The next blow was a blow of metal. In the air, a platinum storm broke out, and a sharp whistling chi was raging. The spiritual chi of metal splashed in all directions like thousands of arrows. Sabers, spears, swords, halberds, axes, hooks, tridents, and 18 kinds of weapons appeared one by one. Chapter 907. You do have the right to be arrogant. In terms of the comprehension of the 5 elements, there is finally someone in the entire eastern wilderness who can compete with me. The 2 of them stopped for a while. Jun Wudao's eyes were like 2 divine lamps. His gaze was like fire, and his voice was like a knife, filled with killing intent. If you feel uncomfortable, then feel uncomfortable. What's there to hide? Chu Yang sneered. My comprehension of the 5 elements is not inferior to yours. You must be very shocked now. Hearing this, the people of the 5 elements sect were stunned. The reason why Jun Wudao was the divine son of the 5 elements was that his 5 martial spirits corresponded to the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Therefore, it could be said that the 5 elements were Jun Wudao's strongest point. But this strongest point couldn't do anything to Chu Yang. He even suddenly discovered that in the unparalleled path of the 5 elements, there was someone who was not inferior to him and could be on par with him. It was definitely not a good feeling. The 5 elements are Jun Wudao's pride. He must be feeling terrible now. The people of the 5 elements sect could not help but have such a thought. At this moment, Jun Wudao did not show any frustration on his face, but when he spoke just now, everything was clear without a doubt. Terrible? Jun Wudao did not admit it. His pale and sickly face suddenly turned cold, as if covered with a layer of frost, emitting rays of cold light. You think too much. That was just my basic means. I did not use my full strength. Rumble. As soon as Jun Wudao's voice fell, the spiritual qi in his body surged like waves. Endless 5-colored light burst out from his body, instantly making his whole body bright and transparent. His internal organs could be seen clearly. Immediately, a divine lamp entered his heart, a green light entered his lungs, a yellow dragon entered his spleen, a halberd entered his lungs, and finally, what seemed to be a mountain-sized water droplet entered his kidneys. After that, his internal organs became even brighter, as if there were 5 gods in them, forming a cycle of the 5 elements. The 5-colored light became even more dazzling. At this moment, Chu Yang only felt that in the depths of Jun Wudao's 5 internal organs, there seemed to be many spatial coordinate points that communicated with the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and so on. Besides, when he breathed, he released the pure essence of the 5 elements, which made Jun Wudao's body even more powerful. Dong dong dong. Inside Jun Wudao's body, the sound of war drums was like thunder. As his pulse throbbed, it resonated with his heart, and the sound of rolling thunder erupted. His heart was like a heavenly drum, and his pulse was like angry thunder. The sound of the heavenly drum and raging thunder appeared on Jun Wudao's body at the same time, which meant that she had used the 5 elements' ultimacy to the maximum. 5 viscera. What was that thing that entered his 5 viscera? Chu Yang felt that Jun Wudao's 5 elements qi had suddenly risen by a level. His eyes narrowed slightly, but the exclamation of the crowd immediately let him know the answer. The heaven and earth lamp, sharp golden halberd, first yuan heavy water, phoenix wood, yellow dragon sand, and the divine sun's 5 martial spirits have entered his 5 viscera. His 5 viscera are like gods. 5 viscera. Who can be a match for the divine sun? That's right. If the divine sun had used this method, he could have killed Chu Yang with 1 punch. How could he have let him withstand 5 punches? The supporters of the 5 elements divine sun clamored and shouted arrogantly. Their voices were completely on Jun Wudao's side, suppressing Chu Yang's mind. Ga. Suddenly, there was a strange laughter that suddenly stopped everything. When everyone looked over, they saw that it was the featherless parrot. Chapter 908. By the way, as an apology, I'd like to remind you, the parrot went on. Although my master cultivates the 9 basic elements of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, and darkness, he's never been serious about anything. He's been digging holes here and there, picking up girls here and there, stealing chickens in the south, and groping dogs in the north. He's been busy all this time, so don't force him to get serious. If he gets serious, even I'm scared. You animal, you're just a mishmash. What are you so proud of? As soon as Lu Tianrui opened his mouth, the parrot snapped. Hey, that thing! How dare you attack me with your parrot form? Afterwards it said disdainfully, you have no eyesight, yet you still dare to be so stubborn. How shameful! I really admire your courage. Didn't you see that my master used a bit of brain power in the first punch? The other 4 were all imitations. Who do you think my master is? The 5 elements are nothing. Do you think he needs to learn them? It's easy for him to learn and apply them. You're still so proud of yourself. Was there really such a person? Everyone shook their heads. The parrot was talking like a firecracker. Tch. The parrot said disdainfully. You people don't have good eyesight. Open your eyes and take a look. Those of you with good eyesight, go. Pointing its wings at Jun Tiancho and the Prime Elders, it said proudly, did you see that? They've been enlightened. They've been petrified. Jun Tiancho and the others were petrified. Now that they thought about what the parrot had just said, they realized it was true. Hiss. The 2 old men who were hiding in the dark didn't notice it just now. At this moment, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air as they looked at each other in shock. Jun Wudao came to his senses, but still couldn't believe it. He looked over at Jun Tiancho. Jun Tiancho reined in his shock and said calmly, hard work makes up for stupidity. Talent isn't everything. In other words, he agreed with the parrot? A tremor ran through Jun Wudao. Rumble! A huge uproar broke out in the crowd. How is this possible? How could someone like that exist in the world? He just glanced at someone and learned their profundity. That's impossible. I don't believe it. It's unbelievable. If that's the case, who could possibly be a match for him? Chu Yang now had the heart to strangle the parrot. Although it had good intentions, Chu Yang did not want to become a monster and be studied by others. Jun Wudao, come back to your senses. Don't listen to that parrot. I'm a decent person. A decent person? Who would believe that? After the initial shock, Jun Wudao quickly calmed down. Her killing intent was as sharp as a knife. That's for the best. Killing you will show off my ability. That's more like it. What kind of tone was that? It was as if an elder was criticizing a junior. Jun Wudao, watch out. I'm going to make a move. 1. The void suddenly shook as if it was struck by an invisible force. It was as if it was about to collapse. At this moment, it was as if time had frozen. The moment Chu Yang released his aura, everyone felt a chill run through their hearts. They were so shocked that they broke out in cold sweat. They didn't understand what had happened. It was as if a demon had just broken out of the seal, or as if a ferocious beast had suddenly appeared beside them. 1. After that, Chu Yang made his move. He moved extremely fast and turned into a beam of light. In an instant, his fist hit the void and strangely made a violent trembling sound. 5 elements palm. Jun Wudao shot out a huge palm. The 5-colored palm covered the sky and met the attack head-on. Boom! It was as if a thunder had exploded, shaking the world. The violent energy surged in all directions like a tide. Crackle! It was as if the wind had swept away the clouds and washed the sand. Chapter 909. The spectators were shocked. They were afraid that they would be affected, so they immediately distanced themselves from the battle. It was hard for them to imagine that Chu Yang, who was only at the peak of the ascending soul realm, could unleash such a terrifying attack. Buzz! Chu Yang's eyes shone brightly, and his fist emitted a dazzling light. It was like a burning divine flame. It was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. It was hard to imagine how powerful such a punch was. Bang! Jun Wudao still used the 5 elements palm. The 5-colored palm seemed to have descended from the sky. It was horrifying, and the void trembled. Rumble! Chu Yang took the initiative to attack. It was the second time he attacked. He unleashed an endless storm, and spiritual energy surged like a tsunami. At this moment, the two of them were like two gods clashing. Why is that bastard Chu so abnormal? His physical body is ridiculously strong. Jin Duoduo was so shocked that he bit his tongue. He can fight against the spirit stage with just his physical body. Jun Tiancho's expression was solemn. The Supreme Elder and the others were also shocked. Oh my God! The parrot was already wailing in its heart. It felt that it had no hope of rebelling against Chu Yang. It was completely unnecessary for it to come out just now. Boom! Jun Wudao, who was in the midst of the fierce battle, naturally discovered that Chu Yang's physical body was ridiculously strong. He also felt it the most. The blood in Chu Yang's body surged violently. If it was an ordinary person, they would have exploded. Rumble! Jun Wudao continued to defend passively. Chu Yang's figure was like a ghost, and he was extremely fast. After another collision, Jun Wudao finally found an opportunity to attack. He formed a seal with both hands, and a mountain appeared above his head. It was lush and verdant, and faintly there were birds and beasts on it. It looked like a real mountain. What kind of seal is this? Everyone was shocked, and their pupils trembled. The momentum was too great. The mountain towered in the air, and there were even birds and beasts flying around. Rumble! The void trembled. The mountain was too big, and it fell down, shaking everyone's mind. Everyone's expression changed. Such a seal technique was too terrifying. Most of the people present believed that they wouldn't be able to receive it with their physical body. Even if they were at the spirit stage, they would probably be smashed into minced meat. The 5 elements seal's moving mountain seal, haha. You are indeed extraordinary. You came at the right time. The 5 elements seal. Previously, when Chu Yang knocked out the so-called 5 elements divine child, who was Jun Wudao's younger brother, Jun Yudao, he had obtained many 5 elements sex cultivation techniques from Jun Yudao. The 5 elements seal was one of them. Chu Yang didn't dodge or evade, and directly attacked. He laughed heartily and threw a punch. His fist broke through the heavens, surging for dozens of miles. Below the stage, many people felt a piercing pain in their ears, as if their eardrums had been shattered. Chu Yang punched the sky with his bare hands, shattering the moving mountain seal with a single punch. Rumble! The great mountain collapsed, and Jun Wudao's expression changed. He was absolutely no match for such a physical body. He was afraid that Chu Yang would close in and use the mountain-moving seal again. Buzz! The towering mountain, as if it had really moved from somewhere else, smashed down on Chu Yang. Bang! Chu Yang met the attack head-on and shattered the great mountain once again. However, Jun Wudao's spiritual energy was inexhaustible. He continued to form seals and slammed down 7 or 8 moving mountain seals in succession. The advantage of the spirit stage was that the heavens and earth were like one's own paradise. The spiritual energy would almost never run out. Haha, this feels great. Chu Yang wasn't afraid. Instead, he was happy. No one had been able to let him display his divine power to his heart's content. He laughed heartily. Third revolution of the primitive martial, third revolution of the Chi soul, and third revolution of the ascended soul, unleashing a 9-fold burst of power. His divine power surged like a burning sacred flame. His entire body shone with boundless radiance. He was unstoppable and unstoppable. All the mountains were destroyed by him. His divine power was monstrous, and it suppressed the eastern wilderness. No one could compare to him. Outside of the arena, everyone was flabbergasted. The parrot's eyes were as big as copper bells as it cursed in its heart. You damned heavens! This immoral bastard is so abnormal. How do you expect me to rebel? How am I supposed to take revenge for my wings and feathers? How am I supposed to take revenge? Even the powerful Jun Wudao's expression completely changed at this moment. He was shocked. He had never seen such a heaven-defying character. Jun Wudao, be careful. Chu Yang visualized the void assassin martial soul and disappeared into the void. Assassination? Not good. Jun Wudao was shocked. How could he not know about Chu Yang's means? However, it was already too late. Chu Yang arrived in an instant, and his fist smashed down like a sun. Rumble. While Jun Wudao dodged, he also threw out a punch. The five-colored fist blocked Chu Yang's pursuit, and a rumbling sound shook the entire Tu Yuan secret realm. Bang! Although he dodged and blocked Chu Yang's approach, the shocking force was still transmitted to his body, and he was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Chu Yang was unforgiving. His speed was even faster, and hundreds of illusory figures appeared. His illusory figures were everywhere, and all of them were bombarding Jun Wudao. In the end, all the illusory figures gathered together to form an immortal and indestructible true body. The radiance illuminated the heaven and earth, and the divine power was turbulent like waves. Punch after punch, Jun Wudao dealt with it tiredly. In just a few moments, Chu Yang had already thrown out countless punches. Every punch seemed to cause the void to collapse. Finally, Jun Wudao could no longer keep up with Chu Yang's rhythm. He was smashed down from the sky and blasted into the ground. The ground shook and cracked, and dust rose to the sky. You can't do it. Chapter 9-10. Within the two circles' secret realm, it was silent. Only Chu Yang's domineering voice could be heard. Jun Wudao's advantage in the spirit realm couldn't do anything to Chu Yang. His five elements realm was the strongest, but Jun Wudao didn't have the slightest advantage in the five elements realm. In terms of physical strength, Jun Wudao wasn't as good as Chu Yang. Chu Yang only used his assassination techniques and relied on his powerful physical body to beat Jun Wudao to the point that he couldn't even fight back. Everyone in the five elements sect saw these 3 points. They felt that Jun Wudao might not be Chu Yang's opponent. On the ground, in the huge pit, after the smoke and dust dispersed, Jun Wudao's figure was nowhere to be seen. His figure became indistinct and disappeared completely in front of everyone's eyes. Chu Yang's eyes narrowed slightly. He stood in midair and scanned his surroundings, guarding against his opponent's thunder strike. He might seem arrogant, but he was actually very careful. Everyone present was also searching, sizing up their surroundings. Your expressions are ridiculous. Will I lose to Chu Yang? Jun Wudao's voice came out. This sentence was directed at everyone present. Obviously, everyone thought that he would definitely lose, which hurt his self-esteem and made him extremely angry. Arrogant when you have the upper hand. Chu Yang is talking about people like you. I only gave you a slight advantage, and you're already so arrogant. Don't be happy too early. A voice came from the sky, and a five-colored figure appeared. His entire body emitted a five-colored radiance. His pulse was like thunder, and his heartbeat was like a war drum. His bones were vibrating and crackling. Boom! Spiritual aura soared into the sky and surged around him like an ocean. Jun Wudao's eyes flashed, and his killing intent was like a blade. He said coldly, Chu Yang, you won? What a joke. This is just the beginning. Everyone was shocked. Jun Wudao's recovery was amazing, and her momentum was even stronger than before. It was as if she had never been injured, and there was a monstrous spirit behind her. How terrifying is that bastard Chu Wudao's body! Even a mountain would crumble under his one punch. Jun Wudao suffered so many punches. She must have had her bones and tendons broken, but she recovered completely in such a short time. This is too terrifying. Chao Ju, Chu Na, and the rest of the 5 Elements sect's disciples were incomparably shocked. As expected, Jun Wudao's potential is no less than that of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness. Chao Rong, Sui Yunfu, and the others had serious expressions, while Lu Tianrui, Song Yangyan, and the others were overjoyed. The great Supreme Elder and the others were surprised. They knew that Jun Wudao was going to use her trump card. It was hard to say who would win. Jun Wudao descended from the sky and stood in front of Chu Yang. At this moment, the spiritual qi around him was surging, and his killing intent was spreading in all directions. Rumble! An imposing figure appeared behind him. His body was pitch black, and there were streaks of multicolored qi coiling around his body like dragons. Poisonous gas soared into the sky. He was wearing a multicolored battle armor, and had a green face and fangs. He had 3 heads and 6 arms, and each of his 6 arms was holding a variety of poisonous blades. At the same time, on this figure, large bubbles appeared and disappeared, and reappeared again. They emitted a foul stench and black smoke. It was terrifying and horrifying, as if it was a rotten poisonous corpse. Then, Jun Wudao's palm came slapping down. The giant palm covered the sky, and the sky shook. Sizzling sounds could be heard in the void, as if the void had been corroded into a hole. Poison King's great palm. The palm came down, and in an instant, everyone felt that the world was about to collapse. The world was about to be transformed into a world of poison, and the billowing poisonous gas made people's scalp tingle. Chapter 9:11. Rumble. It was as if Chu Yang had pulled up a mountain. A majestic mountain appeared in his hand. There were ancient trees, birds, and beasts. There was even a scene of a waterfall falling from the 9th heaven, like the Milky Way. Then, he fiercely threw it towards the incoming big hand. Moving a mountain and throwing people, how domineering! Chu Yang was using the moving mountain print from Jun Wudao's 5 Elements palm print. At this moment, he used it, but it was very different from Jun Wudao's moving mountain print. The mountain was like a demonic mountain, but it didn't seem heavy at all. When it was thrown out, it was like a cloud floating past. Chu Yang had the 5 Elements palm print, and he also had the mountain martial spirit's visualization diagram. It seemed light, but in fact it was extremely heavy. Rumble! When the two collided, the huge poisonous hand suddenly collapsed. However, the poisonous gas from the explosion instantly corroded the whole mountain. Black smoke billowed and filled the sky. This blow didn't cause a huge fluctuation. Hiss! Such a potent poison made everyone suck in a cold breath. They only felt that such a potent poison could render the land within 1,000 miles barren, and all living creatures would be poisoned to death. Even the soil on the ground would be melted into poisonous liquid. Jun Wudao, if that's all you've got, you should just admit defeat. Hearing Chu Yang's words, everyone was shocked. Such a terrible poison, how could Chu Yang not be afraid at all? Later, they found the reason why Chu Yang was so confident. Although Jun Wudao's Poison King's palm print was terrifying, Chu Yang used the moving mountain print that Jun Wudao was good at to deal with Jun Wudao's more powerful means. This in itself was the greatest contempt and provocation. The moving mountain print wasn't that bad, but it was bad in your hands. If you can't do it, then everything else is bad. No matter how good the secret technique is, it is useless in your hands. Even a hero will be used by you like a bear. This was Chu Yang's unspoken words. Jun Wudao's face was gloomy. She didn't say anything. She raised her hand and shot out a multicolored light. As soon as this ray of light appeared, everyone immediately saw the 5 poisonous creatures. spiders, centipedes, green snakes, toads, and scorpions. Apart from that, the crowd even saw 5 types of torture: whipping, beating, burning, and torture. 5 kinds of potent medicinal herbs: stone gallbladder, cinnabar, realgar, benevolent stone, and black stone. 5 social evils: cheating, gambling, gangs, smoking, and prostitution. Complete 5 poisons: 5-colored poison light. The 5-colored poison light was the symbol of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness. It used the 5 elements as its foundation and added in the 5 poisons. The 5 poisons were not singular. Each of the 5 poisons represented a certain kind of profound. When the various profound meanings were stacked together, they formed the 5-colored poison light. At this moment, the 5-colored poison light hit. Chu Yang only felt that he was about to become a scum. Cheating, gambling, gangs, smoking, and prostitution. His whole body was covered in smoke and billowing black smoke. He also seemed to be seriously ill and needed to take 5 kinds of powerful medicinal herbs to stay alive. He suddenly felt that his whole body was incomparably weak and couldn't summon any strength. In a trance, he also felt that he had committed the greatest crime. He was going to be subjected to 5 types of torture, living a life worse than death, and finally die. The 5-colored poison light was a double attack. It didn't only affect the body, but also the soul. Chu Yang was shocked. He never thought that the 5-colored poison light would be so terrifying. And the most terrifying thing had yet to come. He hadn't been swept by the 5-colored poison light. If he was swept by the 5-colored poison light, he would probably be poisoned to death. At this moment, Jun Wudao finally used her killer move. And as soon as the 5-colored poison light appeared, there was an explosion of exclamations. 5-colored poison light, it's actually the 5-colored poison light. Chapter 9:12. The power of the 5-colored poison light was too shocking. In the past, the great emperor of the eastern wilderness had used the 5-colored poison light to sweep through the entire eastern wilderness. Many of the demon race's almighty figures had died tragically under the 5-colored poison light. In the entire eastern wilderness, the only one who could resist the 5-colored poison light was the desolate demon. Whether Chu Yang could resist the 5-colored poison light or not, in fact, it would directly determine who would win the battle between the two. The Grand Elders didn't know how Chu Yang would deal with it. 5-colored poison light. The former 5-element sect masters stared at the multicolored poisonous light, the black smoke rolling around Chu Yang's body, and the look of pain on his sallow face. His expression immediately turned incomparably solemn. When Jun Tianqiu heard the Grand Elder's exclamations and saw the former sect master's worry, he couldn't help but smile widely. There was a hint of pride in his joy, as if he was saying, "You never expected this, did you?" It was extremely difficult to cultivate the 5-colored poison light. Jun Tianqiu knew that he didn't have the talent, but his nephew, Jun Wudao, had cultivated it. His talent could be said to be the best in the entire eastern wilderness. That was why Jun Tianqiu had listened to the Council of Elders, even though he knew that the Prime Elders would be the ones to win. He was confident that his nephew would win. If Chu Yang could resist the 5-colored poison light, he would have to admit that Jun Wudao was indeed inferior to Chu Yang. The 5 Elements sect didn't know much about the 5-colored poison light. They only knew that the 5-colored poison light was the great emperor of the eastern wilderness's ability, but they knew nothing about it. However, they had ears and eyes. When they heard the exclamations of the Grand Elder and the others, as well as the dignified expressions of the Grand Elder and the others, their hearts suddenly thumped. Could Chu Yang resist the ability of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness? At this moment, the entire world couldn't help but fall silent. Amit Ba! A Buddhist chant came out from Chu Yang's body, followed by bursts of Sanskrit chanting. In an instant, Chu Yang's entire body was covered in Buddhist light. Behind him, it was as if a peacock had spread its tail, and the colorful rainbow was incomparably dazzling. Chu Yang visualized Mahamayuri, and the rolling black smoke on his body disappeared. It was as if the Buddha had enlightened him, and the 5 poisons of cheating, gambling, gang, smoking, and prostitution disappeared. It was as if he had put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. All his sins were in the past, and the 5 kinds of torture, whipping, beating, burning, insignia, and torture, also disappeared. The corporeal body was just a smelly skin bag. Everything was like a dream or an illusion. Everything was fake. The corporeal body was fake. The 5 diseases were also fake. There was no need to use strong medicine on fake. The 5 diseases and 5 medicines disappeared. At this moment, under the pressure of the 5-colored poison light, Chu Yang's nerves were stretched taut as his deduction reached its peak. His eyes flickered with incomparable wisdom, as if he could see through everything. Jun Wudao, have you finally stopped hiding your identity as the descendant of the great emperor in the Eastern Wilderness? Humph, the Eastern Wilderness belongs to the Jun family. Why should I hide in the family? Anyone in the Eastern Wilderness who refuses to accept it will be slaughtered. Jun Wudao sneered. Just like you, bastard. If you refuse to accept it, I'll kill you. You've done a lot of harm to this family. And you want to kill me? You don't have the ability to do so. As Chu Yang spoke, he raised his hand and swung it. A 5-colored ray of light also swept out. As soon as the 5-colored light appeared, Jun Wudao was almost petrified. His eyes were glued to the 5-colored light like a plaster. 5-colored divine light. The smile on Jun Tiancho's face froze in an instant. His whole body trembled as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His lips and teeth trembled. How is this possible? How is this possible? The 5-colored poison light was amazing, but the 5-colored divine light was even more amazing. Jun Tiancho had cultivated the 5-colored poison light, but Jun Wudao had tried to cultivate the 5-colored divine light. He had found that it was best not to even think about it because it was simply impossible. However, Chu Yang had cultivated the 5-colored divine light, which his peerlessly talented nephew had failed to cultivate. Jun Tiancho had heard the news from Emperor Island that Chu Yang had cultivated the 5-colored divine light. However, he didn't believe it at all and had dismissed it with a laugh. However, the legendary 5-colored divine light had really appeared in front of him at this moment. Chapter 9:13. The Supreme Elder and the others, who were waiting for Chu Yang to deal with the 5-colored poisonous light, lost their composure at this moment. It seemed that they were competing to see whose voice was louder and louder. Their exclamations were louder and louder, and each was louder than the last. It seemed like a long time had passed, but it was only a matter of a moment. The 2 rays of light met. Swish! Chu Yang's 5-colored divine light swept across, and swept away Jun Wudao's 5-colored poisonous light in an instant. It was just like the 5-colored divine light that people were familiar with. The 5-colored poisonous light disappeared. Then, in a flash, the 5-colored divine light was like a cloth bag that could not contain a divine weapon like the 5-colored poisonous light. Once it was put in, the cloth bag would break. The 5-colored poisonous light destroyed the 5-colored divine light and rushed out, sweeping toward Chu Yang. Ha ha! Jun Wudao was in a daze. Then, she burst into laughter. It was as if she had just survived a calamity. Chu Yang, so what if you have cultivated the 5-colored divine light? Can you withstand my 5-colored poisonous light? At this moment, Jun Tiancho's astonishment turned into ecstasy. His smile bloomed again as he thought, Chu Yang's 5-colored divine light has probably just been cultivated and hasn't been perfected yet. So, it's no match for the 5-colored poisonous light. The Supreme Elder and the others naturally understood this. Their pupils shrank, and they were worried. Chuna looked at the scene in front of her. She was restless like an ant on a hot pan. Chao Ju and the others were also anxious and worried. Jun Wudao, it's just a 5-colored poisonous light. Do you think it can stop me? As Chu Yang spoke, he waved his hand in front of him and said in a low voice, "Reincarnation." Silently, as Chu Yang waved his hand, a vortex appeared in front of him. It was gloomy, and it was dark. Hee hee. Hee hee. The sound of thousands of ghosts rang in everyone's ears. It was as if there was really a netherworld inside. Whoosh! When the 5-colored poisonous light entered, it reappeared as a centipede, a scorpion, a toad, a green snake, and a spider. Moreover, these 5 poisonous creatures seemed to have just been born. They were very weak and had no destructive power at all. You. Such an unimaginable scene made Jun Wudao's voice tremble. Reincarnation. He actually mastered the reincarnation ability. The smile on Jun Tiancho's face froze again. This time, it was as if he had stepped on air and fallen into a bottomless abyss. His heart sank completely. There was only darkness in front of him. There was no trace of light. Reincarnation. That little bastard actually mastered the reincarnation divine ability. No wonder he could summon the lotus karmic fire. The Supreme Elder, the Gold Elder, the Judiciary Elder, Chao Rong, and the others were shocked, but they were also completely relieved. They let out a long sigh of relief and revealed relieved smiles on their faces. Samsara, it's actually samsara. To be able to control reincarnation at such a young age and at such a realm, does that mean that he will at least reach the realm of earthly sovereign in the future? The 2 elders in the dark were the most shocked. At that moment they were almost scared out of their wits, so much so that their figures were completely exposed. Apart from the 2 of them, no one else knew what this meant. In this world, there were only a few people who could master reincarnation, and those who could master reincarnation were all supreme figures. Chapter 9:14. In an instant, the effect of the reincarnation divine ability disappeared. The 5 types of poison turned into the 5-colored poison light again. Do you know why I waited for your 5-colored poison light to recover? Chu Yang looked at Jun Wudao and said, I just wanted to show off in front of others to show how great I am. The 2 elders in the dark shook their heads and were speechless. Fortunately, they were in the eastern wilderness. If they were in the East Continent, Chu Yang would be finished. As for dealing with the 5-colored poison light, I have at least 2 ways, or 10,000 ways. Boom! The spirit energy in Chu Yang's body surged, and a high-pitched cry was heard. A 1-meter-long devil bird rushed out, spread its wings, and flew across the sky. Then, it clawed at the 5-colored poison light with its claws. In silence, the demon bird's claws came into contact with the 5-colored poison light. A small black tree appeared on the light. Its black and tender leaves swung fiercely and absorbed the 5-colored poison light into the leaves. Then, this small tree suddenly grew to a height of more than 1 meter. The demonic bird and the small tree were the desolate demons. Before the desolate demons severed their bodies, they were demonic trees. After they failed to transform into Kuan-Pering, they turned into demonic birds. The desolate demons had fought with the great emperors in the eastern wilderness many times. They were familiar with the techniques of the great emperors in the eastern wilderness. They knew how to resist the 5-colored poison light and the various poisons of the great emperors in the eastern wilderness. They had a great resistance. This scene was very strange. The people of the 5 Elements sect did not know the reason, but the 2 elders, Jun Tiancho, the former sect leader of the 5 Elements sect, and the Grand Elder knew clearly. Just now, it could be said that the great emperor of the Eastern Barren Territory and the desolate demon were using the 2 of them to fight across space. Without a doubt, the desolate demon and the sea god on Emperor Island must have been completely obliterated by Chu Yang. Otherwise, Chu Yang would not have been able to execute such a technique. Jun Wudao, what other techniques do you have? When Chu Yang spoke, Jun Wudao's face turned ferocious. Don't blame me. Chu Yang shrugged and said, I promised your uncle that I would make you accept your loss wholeheartedly. Otherwise, do you think you still have the chance to stand there? I don't even know where you're lying. Looking at this arrogant face, Jun Wudao really wished she could bite off Chu Yang's face. Poison King Thousand Poisons, poison the world, exterminating all living beings. Buzz buzz buzz. As Jun Wudao roared, the Poison King behind him exploded with toxic gas, which transformed into a host of poisonous creatures. Centipedes, scorpions, spiders, vipers, dragons, wasps, and more. Thousands of different types of creatures appeared one after another. Every poisonous creature was roughly the length of a long spear, as if they were forged from divine iron. Their bodies were suffused with a metallic luster. Not only were poisonous gases rolling around their bodies, but they were also astonishingly sharp. It was as if every poisonous creature was a divine weapon, densely packed together, filling up the void. At first glance, they seemed to be able to see a swarm of wriggling poisonous snakes, a dense swarm of spiders, and a swarm of scorpions. The two of them felt their scalps go numb, and some of them even started to tremble. This technique is not bad. Chu Yang took a glance and said without changing his expression, It is said that the martial spirit of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor is the king of 1,000 poisons, and this king of 1,000 poisons has gathered 1,000 poisons. You should be it. Screech. The high-pitched screech of a bird pierced through gold and cracked stone, shaking the sky and hurting many people's eardrums. A demonic bird that was 100 feet tall appeared in the sky above Chu Yang. It was pitch black, like a demonic mountain. Clang! Clang! Chapter 9:15. At this moment, the divine weapons were like a forest, standing upright in the sky, radiating dazzling light. In the void, the murderous intent was shocking, and rays of sharp light shot up into the sky. Everyone looked around and saw divine weapons everywhere. Each divine weapon was blazing with murderous intent, more terrifying than Jun Tianchou's 1,000 poisons. Jun Wudao's 1,000 poisons was like a divine weapon, but it was like a small fight. On the other hand, Chu Yang's demon bird transformed into a divine weapon, which was like an army. Heads rolled, blood flowed like rivers, and corpses piled up like mountains. Kill! Jun Wudao was completely crazy at this moment. His hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were filled with madness and murderous intent. Chu Yang faced the crazy Jun Wudao, and felt the bone-piercing murderous intent, but he was not afraid at all. He was just worried. Of course, this worry was not caused by Jun Wudao. Although Chu Yang was in the field, he was also paying close attention to the outside. He could clearly feel that Jun Tianchou's originally weak aura was gradually recovering to the soul amalgamation realm. In addition to Jun Wudao, there were two other old men with terrifying cultivation bases, which were even more shocking than Jun Tianchou's. The unknown made Chu Yang extremely worried. Jun Wudao, go all out. I said I'll make you admit defeat, and I'll make you admit defeat wholeheartedly. Die, die, die. Die for me. Jun Wudao's eyes were incomparably sharp, like a heavenly sword unsheathed, shooting out crazy rays of light, which made people's hearts palpitate. 100 things, 100 poisons, poison is an eyesore, bite! He roared, and hundreds of poisonous creatures, accompanied by billowing poisonous gas, endless stench, and even the hissing sound of poisonous snakes. Hundreds of venomous creatures of all shapes and sizes, colorful and extremely frightening to look at. All of them bit towards Chu Yang. Above Chu Yang's head, each divine weapon was swallowing and spitting out sharp light, which was a terrifying sea of weapons, shocking the world with murderous intent. He raised his hand and said, You have hundreds of poisonous creatures, then I'll have hundreds of divine weapons, go! 100 sharp lights rushed out with astonishing power, which was a kind of attack that made people tremble in fear. 100 swords shot out at the same time, chopping up the sky. Clang, clang, clang. Chi, chi. 100 divine weapons and 100 poisonous creatures charged at each other. It was as if they were an army charging at the scattered army of the demon clan. Every divine weapon that struck the poisonous creatures produced a metallic sound. Although the divine weapons killed the poisonous creatures, the poisonous gas corroded the divine weapons one by one. Its sharpness was shocking and incomparably sharp. Poisonous gas billowed, corroding everything. This was an extremely shocking scene. 100 divine weapons could hack apart heaven and earth. 100 poisonous creatures could poison heaven and earth. Both of them possessed astonishing might. Outside the arena, the people of the 5 Elements sect who were watching the battle felt a chill run down their spines. Even though they were so far away, they could not only feel the horrifying poison on the poisonous creature, but they could also feel the horrifying killing intent on the divine weapon. That sharp light was filled with endless killing intent, making people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. The two clashed together, forming a terrifying destructive aura. Jun Wudao's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. Once again, he roared madly. 500 poisonous creatures, poison the common people. Clang, 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 Chu Yang's mind flickered, and the divine weapons chimed in unison. 500 divine weapons shot out, and their sharp glints intertwined to form a frightening storm to meet the attack. The result was the same as before, but the scene was more magnificent. Jun Wudao, are you convinced now? Chu Yang asked again. However, his attention was no longer on Jun Wudao, but on Jun Tianqiu. Jun Wudao did not answer. Instead, he roared again. 1,000 poison wreak havoc, destroy the world. The divine weapons were like demonic birds, piercing through heaven and earth. They spread their wings and dazzled the eyes in the sky. Just as Chu Yang was activating the divine weapons, he saw Jun Tianqiu staring at the two of them without blinking. He was so focused that he was a little absent-minded. Suddenly, he moved and attacked Jun Tianqiu. Jun Tianqiu was in the soul amalgamation realm. If he did not launch a sneak attack, Chu Yang would not stand a chance. In the current situation, the two sides seemed to have reached some kind of tacit agreement, waiting for the result of the battle to come out. After the result was out, the battle was not over. Chu Yang felt that it would be safest if he could kill Jun Tianqiu. The path of heaven span opened, and Chu Yang suddenly disappeared. When he appeared behind Jun Tianqiu, the people of the 5 Elements sect were shocked. A crazy idea appeared in their minds. Chu Yang was going to assassinate Jun Tianqiu, and he was going to do it in front of him. Chapter 9:16. Chu Yang had abandoned his opponent, Jun Wudao, and suddenly launched an assassination attempt on Jun Tianqiu. Such an action was simply too crazy. No one would have thought of this. Chu Yang's action was equivalent to assassinating the heavens. In the spirit realm, a martial artist would have a preliminary connection with the heavens and earth. The entire heavens and earth would be the martial artist's paradise. They would be able to endlessly use the energy of the heavens and earth. They would even be able to use the heavens' might to bully others. The soul fusion realm was the next step in the spirit realm. After experiencing the tribulation of the heavens and earth, they would obtain the approval of the heavens and earth and step into the sky realm. This process could be said to be the process of the spirit realm's servant becoming the master. From then on, they would no longer be ordinary. The soul fusion realm was said to be on par with the heavens. The heavens were them, and they were the heavens. With just a thought, they could cause the wind to blow and clouds to gather. Rain would pour down in an instant. They could cause the heavens and earth to change color and cause thunder to rumble. Naturally, this so-called being on par with the heavens was impossible. It was just a step forward in martial arts cultivation. However, this didn't stop people from thinking this. especially ignorant people. This was why there was a saying that the soul fusion realm was created by the heavens. Therefore, Chu Yang's action was equivalent to assassinating the heavens in everyone's eyes. Assassinating the heavens? How crazy was this? Who could kill the heavens? At this moment, Jun Tianqiu was also stunned. As for Jun Wudao, she was completely dumbfounded. Chu Yang was actually going to assassinate her uncle, Jun Tianqiu, a supreme figure in the eastern wilderness. The former sect master of the Five Elements sect, the Supreme Elder, the Golden Elder, and the Adjudicating Elder were all shocked by Chu Yang's action. Spear of Darkness. Chu Yang used his demonic martial soul. Spirit energy surged and condensed into a spear of darkness. He grabbed it in his hand and stabbed it towards Jun Tianqiu. At this moment, Chu Yang finally used his trump card. The spear of darkness was as black as ink. This spear of darkness seemed to be the embodiment of the will of darkness. It was the darkness of evil, the darkness of hell, the darkness of the universe, and endless darkness. As soon as it appeared, the heavens and the earth suddenly darkened. It was as if hell had been drawn out by the endless darkness and was grabbed by Chu Yang. The place where he held the spear of darkness was pitch black like a ball of darkness, as though it was hell itself. The devil's mocking sneers, his angry roars, the pitiful cries of death, the wails of anguish, all sorts of other sounds came from the spear shaft. At this moment, Chu Yang was like a demon from hell. His whole body emitted an endless evil aura and death aura. He was the emissary of evil and the dead of death, controlling heaven and earth. Jun Tianqiu was horrified. He smelled an extremely strong aura of death. Amidst his fear, he thought of something and controlled the space where Chu Yang was. Controlling the heavens and earth allowed one to control an area, control that space, and make that space completely still. This was just a more advanced use of the domain. Under the effect of controlling heaven and earth, Chu Yang's body became sluggish for a moment. However, how could he control Chu Yang? The celestial demon punishing heaven could even kill the real heaven, let alone a mere soul amalgamation realm. His celestial demon martial soul trembled. With a crash, the so-called controlling heaven and earth shattered like a piece of glass. What? How is this possible? What did he use? How could it break my controlling heaven and earth? Jun Tianqiu was even more frightened. However, the controlling heaven and earth slowed down Chu Yang, giving him time to react. He roared, "Shield of heaven and earth!" Buzz! Buzz! The void in front of Jun Tianqiu completely solidified and turned into a shield in front of him. Chapter 9:17. Die! Chu Yang roared and thrust the spear of darkness at Jun Tianqiu with all his might. Chi! The spear of darkness pierced through Jun Tianqiu's heaven and earth shield like it was made of paper. Jun Tianqiu watched in horror as the spear of darkness pierced through him. Ah! Jun Tianqiu screamed as black smoke began to rise from his body. He was as black as ink, as though he had been completely corroded by the darkness. Kakik! Kakik! Hee-hee! The screams of demons, the screams of living beings being slaughtered, and the anguished wails of those who died came from Jun Tianqiu's body. At that moment, Jun Tianqiu felt as though thousands of demons had entered his body, gnawing at his flesh and soul. Whoosh! Jun Tianqiu was so terrified that he didn't dare to face Chu Yang. At the moment of life and death, he fled. Great Emperor's Jade Seal. He couldn't suppress the raging dark energy in his body. His body was being corroded, and his soul was on the verge of being obliterated. As he fled, he activated the Great Emperor's Jade Seal of the Eastern Wilderness. Where do you think you're going? Chu Yang was shocked by the power of the Spear of Darkness. It had far exceeded his expectations. It was his momentary shock that had saved Jun Tianqiu's life. Stop. That's enough. The descendant of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor must have fallen into the trap. There's no need to continue. The two old men in the dark blocked Chu Yang's path and roared at the same time. The voices of the two elders were also trembling. Even though they were at the soul amalgamation realm, their souls were still trembling with fear from Chu Yang's attack. Chu Yang vanished into thin air. What trap! The descendant of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor was right in front of him. He didn't care what agreement the former Five Elements sect leader and Grand Elder had with them. Jun Tianzhou had to die, and so did everyone involved. The two old men were shocked. They knew that they couldn't stop Chu Yang. As for what they said about Chu Yang, it was dog fart that was unbearably smelly. The two of them flew in front of Jun Tianzhou to protect him. In the next instant, Chu Yang appeared behind one of the old men. He was like a devil, and the world darkened as devil chi surged. The spear of darkness appeared once more, and this time, it was even more shocking. The sound of hell rang out as Chu Yang stabbed the spear forward. Shield of heaven and earth. Although the old man was terrified, he reacted quickly, using the same defensive technique as Jun Tianzhou to defend himself. Of course, the result was the same. Chu Yang's spear pierced through Jun Tianzhou's body. Immediately, black smoke billowed out from Jun Tianzhou's body. Jun Tianzhou's body was as black as ink, and he screamed in pain. Chu Yang, how dare you! The other old man roared, but he was more frightened than angry. Chu Yang said, his voice echoing out from the void. Anyone who gets in my way will die. I don't care who you are. If you don't want to die, get the hell out of here. You're going to kill a clan elder, and you won't even listen to him. The old man's face flickered with fear, and he put on a fierce front. Clan elder? What clan elder? I've never heard of such a thing. Are you trying to scare me with a fake clan elder? You! The old man was enraged, and then his hair stood on end. Swish! He dodged to the side, but Chu Yang didn't appear where he had been. What a pity, Chu Yang thought. Jun Tianzhou and the old man from before had given him a warning, and he was now on guard. After dodging the attack, the old man pulled out a small sphere and tossed it into the air. It exploded, and a cloud of mist spread out to cover the entire area. Unexpectedly, the mist could block the probing of divine sense. Crap! Chu Yang knew something was wrong. Let's go! Chu Yang shouted from within the mist, but when he tried to chase after the old man, he was gone. Chapter 9:18. Damn it! Chu Yang's expression was extremely gloomy. His strength was too weak, and his cultivation base was too low. Not only did he have to be extremely careful when assassinating a soul amalgamation realm expert, but he was also powerless. Otherwise, how could he have let them escape so easily? The escape of Jun Tianzhou and the others would cause no end of trouble in the future. Chu Yang would have to live in fear and tread on thin ice all the time. The entire Two Circles secret realm was dead silent. Only Chu Yang's annoyed voice could be heard. What had happened just now had completely petrified the members of the Five Elements sect. As for who was right or wrong, they couldn't care less. Chu Yang had succeeded in assassinating a soul amalgamation realm expert. He had actually succeeded. Moreover, what shocked them the most was that it wasn't a coincidence. After Chu Yang had assassinated Jun Tianzhou, the two elders who had appeared out of nowhere were also in the soul amalgamation realm. However, Chu Yang had also succeeded in assassinating one of the elders and severely injured one of them. With a mere soul reincarnation realm cultivation base, Chu Yang had the ability to kill a soul amalgamation realm expert. How earth-shattering and shocking was this? That was the extent of the Arabian Nights, right? Chu Yang could understand the astonishment of the Five Elements sect's disciples. After all, the power of the Spear of Darkness was beyond his imagination. However, when he saw the former 5 elements sect's sovereign, supreme elder, elder gold, and elder judiciary's dumbfounded expressions, he couldn't help but get angry. Whether it was the former sect master of the 5 elements sect or the grand elders, they were all experienced and had seen all kinds of strange things. No matter how shocked they should have been able to seize the opportunity to keep Jun Tiancho and the others here. However, none of them made a move. The more Chu Yang thought about it, the angrier he became. He wanted to curse them, but after all, he was an elder. He restrained himself and gritted his teeth. Seniors, elders, releasing a tiger back to the mountain. Is this a good show to watch? Releasing a tiger back to the mountain? The former sect master of the 5 elements sect, as well as the supreme elders, were speechless. They knew that the little bastard Chu Yang was angry, but they didn't care that Jun Tiancho had escaped. With a bastard like Chu Yang around, it wouldn't be a problem no matter how many tigers were released. Moreover, if they made a move, it would only make the situation worse. This was the matter of Chu Yang's clan, and the elders of Chu Yang's clan were definitely not existences that they could afford to offend. Without the Council of Elders, the situation today would have been completely different. Perhaps because of Chu Yang, their side would have won, but they would have won miserably. Chu Yang didn't know about the existence of the Council of Elders, so they could understand why he was angry. As for this meeting of elders, be it the former 5-element sect leader or the Grand Supreme Elder, they had only just found out about it. Moreover, the future of the Eastern Wilderness would still be decided by this Council of Elders. Emperor Wei, Emperor Qi, Emperor Wu, and Emperor Han, I'm very curious now. Are you alive or dead? The 4 emperors of the 4 countries had also been rebuked by Chu Yang. These 4 people hadn't made any noise since their arrival. Now that they were being rebuked by Chu Yang, Emperor Wu opened his mouth and said, "Why should I meddle in your internal affairs? My family's affairs?" Chu Yang was dumbfounded. When he thought of the so-called elders that the 2 old men had mentioned, his mind was a mess. In his impression, there was no such thing as an elder. His clan didn't have any clansmen at all. Follow me. The former 5 elements sect, the Grand Supreme Elder, and the others led Chu Yang away. Chapter 9:19. After Chu Yang left with the group of old men, they didn't explain anything to him. However, 3 old men soon appeared in front of him. 2 of them were the ones Chu Yang had just seen. The other old man was extremely old. Like the Judgment Elder, he also had a hunchback. His hair and teeth had all fallen out. His face was full of wrinkles and his skin was like an old tree. This should be a person who had lived for a long time. You are Chu Yang? The moment the old man appeared, he walked around Chu Yang and sized up Chu Yang. This was most likely Chu Yang's elder. Chu Yang didn't dare to be presumptuous. He respectfully bowed and said, "Greetings, senior." The hunchback old man's turbid eyes met Chu Yang's and said, "You shouldn't call me senior. You should call me clan elder or clan leader." Clan leader? Chu Yang frowned slightly. "Senior, please forgive this little one for being presumptuous. As far as I know, I don't have any clan members." "Senior, did you get the wrong person? Your father didn't tell you." "My father didn't tell me, but he would at least bring me to worship the ancestors." Chu Yang's mind raced. The so-called clan leader couldn't be fake. If he couldn't be fake, then why didn't his father tell him? He didn't even bring him to worship the ancestors. Which clan would not bring their descendants to worship the ancestors? They didn't even know who their grandfather was. Chu Yang suspected that his father was discriminated against. He was even ostracized, so much so that he couldn't even worship the ancestors. The hunchback old man seemed to have seen through Chu Yang's thoughts and saw Chu Yang's unfriendliness. He smiled, but his smile soon disappeared. His voice became incomparably low. "Our ancestors aren't here. How can we worship the ancestors? Chu Yang couldn't help but narrow his eyes. This sentence contained too many meanings. He could even hear the sadness in it. Your branch is considered the most unyielding and arrogant in our clan. Your father was the only one left, and he was sent to the eastern wilderness in the end. Your father could be said to be the last of your bloodline. In this eastern wilderness, where would you find ancestors to worship? And where would you go to worship them? In the end, he was sent to the eastern wilderness. Chu Yang's mind buzzed. The reason why the Council of Elders intervened this time. The hunchbacked old man said unhurriedly, the most important reason is that not only are you outstanding, you are also a member of that branch. I do not wish for your branch to suffer any more injuries. As for the other reason, I don't have to tell you. The descendants of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness are also part of our clan. I hope to avoid internal strife within our clan as much as possible. I'm from the same race as the great emperor of the eastern wilderness. This news was truly explosive. Though Chu Yang had thought of it, his heart still trembled. He lowered his eyes and exhaled deeply. Senior, do you have any proof? Your father will be here soon. He'll tell you what he needs to tell you in a moment. The hunchbacked old man paused for a moment. The reason I'm here is mainly to talk about you and Jun Tianchou's branch. I hope you can let them go. Senior, are you joking? Chu Yang paused. Even if I let them go, they won't let me go. Don't worry about that, the hunchbacked old man said. We'll take care of it, and we'll make sure you rule the eastern wilderness. Chu Yang shook his head. I'm not interested in that. That's not up to you, the hunchbacked old man said. The eastern wilderness must be under our control. If you don't, then Jun Tianchou's branch will. Unify the eastern wilderness. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. You know everything about what Jun Tianchou's branch has done, and you're their supporters? The hunchbacked old man shook his head. Unifying the eastern wilderness is because Jun Tianchou's branch made too much of a ruckus. They massacred millions of people in the eastern wilderness, and their actions tarnished the reputation of our ancestors. We had no choice but to intervene. Based on the current situation in the eastern wilderness, we made this decision in passing. By the way, what a big tone! Chu Yang couldn't help but carefully size up the hunchbacked old man. When the old man saw Chu Yang's appearance, he smiled and released his aura. Chu Yang's heart immediately palpitated. The old man's strength shocked Chu Yang. He definitely surpassed the soul amalgamation realm. Chapter 920. A Saint. The hunchbacked old man was actually a saint. Saints were unimaginable. At the very least, Chu Yang could not imagine it right now. However, he had never thought that the old man before him would actually be a saint. His eyes immediately widened in disbelief. There was actually a saint in the eastern wilderness. The hunchbacked old man could not help but cry out in surprise. Clearly, he was extremely surprised. He had only released a sliver of his presence, but Chu Yang could immediately sense his cultivation. It was very shocking. The other two old men were extremely surprised when they heard Chu Yang's cry. You really are impressive. The hunchbacked old man was slightly surprised. Then, he smiled like a flower and said, You can tell that I'm a saint. No wonder you can cultivate the 5 elements divine light and the reincarnation divine ability. Greetings, Grandpa Saint. Chu Yang almost dropped to his knees. He tried to curry favor with the old man. I say, Grandpa Saint, you have to give your juniors a greeting gift, especially one as outstanding as me. Since he was a saint, everything he had just said could not be false. A saint would not stoop so low as to lie to Chu Yang. If he was displeased, he could just crush Chu Yang to death. Chu Yang's sudden change made the faces of the two old men beside him twitch. They felt extremely disdainful inside. The hunchbacked old man only smiled. What do you want? You already have a lot of treasures on you. Fifth brother has the 5 elements circulation ring and the pentagram star. Sixth brother has the soul-devouring gourd, soul-severing gourd, and the detention gourd. You have the 5 colors ability, the samsara ability, and the ability you created by filling up the heaven and earth bridges. You only need to comprehend them. You won't be able to do anything. Chu Yang suddenly felt like he had been stripped naked. He felt a chill all over his body. Before a saint, there was nothing he could hide. Your innate body, body of samsara, and chaotic body are basically perfect in the Eastern wilderness. It's truly rare. It's just a pity that it's only in a miniature world like the Eastern wilderness. The laws of the world are incomplete, so there's still a great flaw. When the hunchbacked old man spoke again, Chu Yang quivered. Every time the other 2 old men heard this, they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies shook fiercely. Remember, before you reach the East Continent's main world, you must never break through to the soul reincarnation stage. Also, the origin martial 3 transformations, the chi soul 3 transformations, and the ascended soul 3 transformations. When you get there, you'll have to polish them again. Don't leave any flaws behind. Origin martial 3rd revolution. Chi soul 3rd revolution. 3rd revolution of soul ascension. The hunchbacked old man spoke repeatedly. The 2 old men beside him were already trembling. At this moment they finally understood why Chu Yang was so heaven-defying. He was only at the peak of the ascended soul realm, but he was able to assassinate a soul fusion realm martial artist. However, your martial soul is still a little lacking. Fortunately, your martial soul has been tainted with the chi of samsara and primal chaos, so its transformation is very shocking. This can be considered the contribution of Old Six lineage. They've massacred thousands of lives to fulfill your wish. When Chu Yang heard this, he felt a wave of shock in his heart. His destiny twin martial soul was something that even a saint couldn't see? Immediately, he rejected the hunchbacked old man's words. I say, Grandpa Saint, can you not speak nonsense? This contribution can't be attributed to those bastards. Let me tell you, this is all your precious grandson's bluff. He's also very capable. He's a great genius. Your conduct is very similar to old Five's. The hunchbacked old man flicked his finger, and a big bump immediately appeared on Chu Yang's forehead. After that, the old man disappeared. A jade-colored gourd floated in the air, and his voice was still echoing in the air. This is Nirvana liquid. Consider it my gift to you for our first meeting. It'll save you the trouble of making up stories about me later. Chapter 921. See you off, Grandpa Saint. Chu Yang only shouted. He didn't even bend his waist. Chu Yang didn't find it strange that the hunchbacked saint would do this. If it weren't for his amazing performance, the saint wouldn't have come. He glanced at Chu Yang, which was already a lot of respect for Chu Yang. Then, Chu Yang respectfully apologized to the old man who was stabbed by him. The ignorant are innocent. Clan Elder, I have offended you before. I hope you can forgive me. It's over. There's no need to mention it again. The old man said. As for Jun Tiancho and the others, I hope you can reconcile. With them around, it'll be easier for you to integrate the Eastern wilderness, right? The other old man also said, That's right. Jun Tiancho and the others have worked hard even if they didn't make any contributions. Is that what I mean? Chu Yang had a smile on his face, but it disappeared immediately. Don't you need to give an explanation to the tens of millions of people who were killed in the Eastern wilderness? The moment Chu Yang's smile disappeared, the 2 old men were slightly startled in their hearts. They felt a great pressure. It was true that he was a junior, but he was an extraordinary junior. The 2 old men had clearly heard every single one of Chu Yang's shocking moves. Therefore, they felt a lot of pressure in their hearts at this moment. You've already killed many people from the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect. This is already a good explanation. Our clan is already extremely weak. We can't continue to waste our energy on internal strife. The two old men had their own reasons. But, for Chu Yang, what kind of explanation could this be considered as if the main culprit had yet to be punished? He said, "Is that what Grandpa Saint means?" "That's what he means. The Patriarch has already said that he hopes you can let them go. At the same time, this is also what the elders want." The two old men finally said, "We hope you can abide by it. Since it's what the elders want, I'll naturally abide by it." The killing intent in Chu Yang's heart surged, but he had already made a decision. He did not intend to continue to be entangled in this issue. He changed the topic. "Elders, I know nothing about our clan. I wonder if you can tell me why we came to the eastern wilderness, and what happened during that time." The two old men hesitated for a moment before saying, "The Patriarch didn't tell you just now because he has his own concerns. When the time comes, the Patriarch will naturally tell you." "If that's the case, then I understand." After that, Chu Yang discussed how to deal with Jun Tiancho and the others. Laughter filled the air as they talked. Not long after, the two old men left. Chu Yang visualized the void assassin martial spirit and hid himself in the void. He restrained his aura and followed them from afar. After the two old men had left for a long distance, one of them exclaimed, "This Chu Yang is truly a peerless talent. When I speak in front of him, I have no choice but to be careful, for fear of angering him." "That's right." The other old man nodded. "However, he's still too inexperienced. He took away the eastern wilderness from Jun Tiancho's branch. How could Jun Tiancho's branch tolerate this? They must be resentful, but they can only endure for the time being. If they erupt, the consequences will be unimaginable. Let's not care about this for the time being. After all, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. If he goes to the eastern continent and dies there, we still have Jun Wudao on our side. If he dies, his branch will be in trouble. Jun Tiancho and the others won't make such a mistake." "I'm afraid so, but he can't blame anyone for not knowing. He can only blame himself for being too ignorant. With his temperament, he's not qualified to be the leader of our clan. Any competition is bloody, not to mention the competition for the throne in the eastern wilderness. Whether it's the divine dynasty or the various countries, the competition for the throne is bloody. This should be a test from the Patriarch to see how he deals with this matter. Unfortunately, he's no exception. He's also fawning over the Patriarch. Just now, his flattery to the Patriarch was really laughable." The two old men chatted as they walked. They had been walking for a long time, and Chu Yang heard their conversation. He sneered inwardly. "You think I won't know if you don't tell me?" Chu Yang had made up his mind to kill. Not to mention other things, he had promised to give an explanation to the thousands of wronged souls. This was something he must do. Moreover, a man may not hurt a tiger, but a tiger will hurt a man's heart. If he didn't clean up the eastern wilderness, how could he go to the eastern continent with peace of mind? Chapter 922. After the two elders left the Five Elements sect, they continued to fly. Mountains continued to fly behind them, and in just a few moments, they had already flown more than 100 li. However, they had no intention of stopping. They seemed to be rushing towards a certain place. They're probably looking for Jun Tiancho. There's no mistake. Chu Yang followed, his eyes glittering. He had been feigning civility just now because he wanted the two elders to take him to Jun Tiancho. Jun Tiancho was probably in the eastern wilderness, where the descendants of the great emperors live. It would be extremely dangerous for him to barge in. After flying for a while, the two elders finally stopped. With a wave of their hands, a portal to a small subdimension appeared. Then, they disappeared into it. Chu Yang followed closely behind. The subdimension was extremely vast and rich in the energy of heaven and earth. After flying for a while, they saw a cluster of buildings, pavilions, and palaces. I didn't know that the two elders would be coming. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Jun Tianchou's voice rang out, then he appeared and led the two elders into the palace at the center of the subdimension. After they were seated, Jun Wudao waited on them. At the same time, she ordered tea to be served. The aroma of tea filled the air. Jun Tianchou was even more enthusiastic. After exchanging some pleasantries with the two elders, he respectfully handed them 2 porcelain bottles and said, "Elders, these are 2 Origin Lifespan pills. I got them from Emperor Island. It's just a small gift. I hope you'll accept it." Origin Longevity pills. The two elders' eyes lit up. To them, lifespan was the most important thing right now. Jun Tianchou's attitude pleased them even more. After all, Jun Tianchou was at the Soul Amalgamation realm, just like them. They were very happy to see him treat them with such respect. It was a world of difference from when they first met Chu Yang. They looked at each other and accepted the life essence pills. This made the smile on Jun Tianchou's face even brighter. "Elders, I wonder what Chu Yang's side thinks? You don't need to worry. He's not as polite as you are, and he doesn't know how to be filial to his elders. Although this Chu Yang has astonishing talent, he doesn't know how to conduct himself properly." The two elders were overjoyed after obtaining the life essence pills. They immediately reassured Jun Tianchou. Although they didn't seem to be very good at talking, they just wanted more life essence pills. Jun Tianchou nodded, but how could he feed both of them at once? What are his specific requests? What does the patriarch mean? The patriarch hopes that the two branches can reconcile. The two elders said. As for Chu Yang, he has agreed not to pursue the matter. However, you must assist him in unifying the eastern wilderness. That's it? Jun Tianchou asked in disbelief. Jun Wudao was also a little surprised. With the talent and strength that Chu Yang had displayed, he would definitely be able to obtain the support of the Elder Council. It would be too easy for him to control them. The two elders laughed and explained, "You don't need to doubt it. That is indeed the case. As for the reason, Chu Yang is still too inexperienced." Their words were very blunt. Generally speaking, Chu Yang was an idiot who didn't know the ways of the world and didn't understand the sinister nature of the human heart. It was ridiculous that he thought that a few words could solve the problem. Chapter 923. Finally, Jun Tianchou smiled. "If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Also, I'd like to ask the two elders to help me out." "You're too polite," Jun Tianchou said. "We're from the same clan, and we're of the same breath and branch. What do you mean by help?" "You're right, elders. Just now, Tianchou misspoke. I hope you don't take offense." The guests and the host laughed and chatted merrily. Chu Yang had seen everything. Jun Tianchou had yet to recover from his injuries, and was in a very weak state. The spear attack Chu Yang had dealt him was terrifying, and had left him with serious injuries. Other than Jun Tianchou and Jun Wudao, Chu Yang didn't see any other descendants of the Eastern Wilderness's Grand Emperor. Let's not worry about that for now. Jun Tianchou is their backbone. Let's kill him first. Chu Yang was worried that Jun Tianchou and the others might be hiding in their lair, but this was a rare opportunity. Swish. After confirming the location of the Grand Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal in the Eastern Wilderness, he made his move. Chu Yang's hiding place suddenly turned dark. It was as if there was a whirlpool there that sucked in all the light. Then, Chu Yang's figure completely disappeared into the void. He seemed to have broken the void and left. He also seemed to have transformed into Tao and returned to the world silently. It was as if the darkness had quietly descended. The two elders didn't notice anything. Neither did Jun Tianchou. The next moment, Chu Yang suddenly appeared with a dark spear in his hand. He pierced through the air and stabbed at Jun Tianqiu ferociously. Only then did they wake up with a start. It was as if they had just woken up from a dream after being assassinated. Jun Tianqiu was a soul meld expert, but now that he was a demi-immortal, he was extremely powerful and could sense the changes in the void around him. Even if someone tried to assassinate him, he could control the void around him, and no one under the soul meld realm would be able to do anything to him. However, his opponent was Chu Yang. While he was horrified, he controlled the heavens and the earth, controlling the void around him. However, Chu Yang's celestial demon martial spirit shook and immediately broke through. The spear of darkness was like a devil, a horn of slaughter, and a symphony of death. It was like a hot knife through butter, and nothing could stop it. All of his defenses were broken and swept clean. Assassination, the way of the assassin. Chu Yang had used this method many times. From the time when he had sneak attacked the so-called Five Elements Divine Child, to the time when he had assassinated the Golden Rock Saint Child, the many elders of the Soul Devourer sect, and so on. During this process, his assassination technique had become more and more exquisite. He had even obtained the assassin martial soul and comprehended the supreme way of the assassin. On Emperor Island, he had killed Nu San and obtained the void assassin martial soul. Now that he was so familiar with the art of assassination that not even someone like Jun Tianqiu would be able to defend against it. Moreover, Jun Tianqiu had never dreamed that Chu Yang would suddenly assassinate him when he thought his plan had succeeded. The two elders had never expected this, let alone Jun Wudao who was beside them. This attack was an invasion of darkness. It was a massacre that had been inflicted from hell. The defense of controlling the heavens and earth was pierced like a piece of paper. The spear of darkness ruthlessly pierced into Jun Tianqiu's body. It pierced and twisted, and a dark vortex seemed to appear on Jun Tianqiu's body. It was a hell vortex. His internal organs, muscles, tendons, and veins were sucked, torn, and crushed. They were rolled into one place and then exploded. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, Chu Yang's spear flicked, and the imperial jade seal of the eastern wilderness flew out of Jun Tianqiu's body. Chapter 924. A soul fusion realm is indeed powerful. He's still not dead. Right now, Chu Yang's path of assassination had reached perfection. What he used was the Spear of Darkness. It could be said to be his strongest sudden attack. Killing a soul realm martial artist was like slaughtering a dog. Those below the 5th level of the spirit stage would definitely be silently stabbed to death without even knowing how. However, it was impossible to kill an expert like Jun Tianqiu in a single strike even if he hadn't recovered from his injuries. At most, he could only injure him even more. Chu Yang, stop! Do you know what you're doing? The two elders roared after they reacted. What do you think I'm doing? Chu Yang grabbed the imperial seal of the eastern wilderness and sneered. Didn't you say that I'm ignorant, naive, and stupid? Didn't you say that I'm inexperienced? Didn't you say that this was a test from the Patriarch? Are you satisfied with my performance? Am I worthy to be your guide? Chu Yang pointed out the words of the two elders one by one, which made the two elders blush with embarrassment. They were furious, but they couldn't say anything. In this moment, Jun Tianqiu was madly attacking and destroying with the dark energy of hell. You what? Are you saying that I haven't done enough? That I don't know how to behave? Do you want me to show respect to the two of you? Swish. Chu Yang's figure disappeared again, causing Jun Tianqiu and the two elders to be shocked. Elders, hurry up and kill this beast! Jun Wudao roared. He was truly frightened. Originally, he thought that he wasn't any weaker than Chu Yang. But now, Chu Yang even wanted to kill his uncle. What could he do? Chu Yang had never treated him as an opponent. Jun Wudao's voice stopped abruptly. A strange sound came from his throat. Then, his body trembled and he died. His eyes were wide open. He didn't know how he had died, but Jun Tianqiu and the two elders saw it clearly. Chu Yang's spear had pierced through his head from the side. Chu Yang, how impudent! How dare you slaughter the geniuses of your own race? The two elders roared and immediately became vigilant. Previously, when they tried to stop Chu Yang, they were ambushed by Chu Yang. However, this time, Chu Yang did not appear at all. When he reappeared, he was behind Jun Tianqiu, clad in a suit of armor of darkness, with a pair of wings of darkness behind his back. The spear of darkness in his hand was growing more and more solid, and black flames could be seen rising up from it, making it look like a fiend devil from hell. He thrusted out his spear again and said in a mocking tone, "Elders, are you waiting for me to sneak attack you?" The tip of the long spear surged with demonic chi. There was a black dot that absorbed all the light into it, emitting a heart-palpitating aura. It seemed that not only could it pierce through hell, it could also pierce through the heaven realm. Even the great emperor of the heaven realm could not resist it. This stab could be said to contain the good fortune of heaven and earth. Bam! Bam! Jun Tianqiu did his best to defend himself. His hands unleashed the 5 phases of the 5 phases sect, but Chu Yang's spear pierced through them all. It was unknown how many times the two had exchanged blows in an instant. Chu Yang's hands had become numb from the impact. He couldn't imagine the scene of fighting with Jun Tianqiu if he hadn't repeatedly injured him. He reckoned that he would have been killed in just one move. Nie. Jun Tianqiu's face twisted viciously. "I'm going to kill you, you little swine." 5 Poisons Imperial Fist. Unify the Eastern Wilderness. He unleashed a powerful and insidious fist technique, causing toxic energy to surge and shine with golden light. At the same time, the roar of a dragon could be heard. Chapter 925. Monarch descends to the Eastern Wilderness. 5 Poisons Demon Slayer. I am the monarch of the Eastern Wilderness. Pacify the Eastern Wilderness. In a flash, Jun Tianqiu's body suddenly expanded. He wore the Spirit Chi dragon robe and 9 poisonous dragons coiled around his body. Every punch was abnormally heavy, as if resonating with the entire Eastern Wilderness. The merit of the monarch of the Eastern Wilderness was fully displayed. Every punch was like a giant axe splitting the sky, smashing towards Chu Yang. The continuous bombardment shook the sky and the earth. At this moment, the void seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The Soul Amalgamation Realm was indeed worthy of being called a Soul Amalgamation Realm expert. Chu Yang immediately felt a huge pressure when he was injured to such an extent. However, he was not afraid at all. He was extremely confident and was absolutely not afraid of any head-on confrontation. He also knew that this was Jun Tianqiu's final counterattack. But at this moment, he did not evade. No matter how fierce and vicious Jun Tianqiu was, he was not afraid. A mere Jun Tianqiu and a bunch of rats who had been making troubles in the dark. If he couldn't clean up the Eastern Wasteland, he wouldn't be qualified to leave the Eastern Wasteland and go to the East Continent. It was just like what his father had said before he left the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. If he couldn't become the #1 person in the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution, he might as well not go to the 5 Elements sect and die in the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. Chu Yang agreed with this statement. If he didn't have the ability, how could he compete with the world's heroes? The enemies were definitely not weak. For example, Andihu and the Burning Sky Holy Son of the 5 Elements sect. If he couldn't even deal with these people, how could he talk about others? The enemies of the East Continent were even more terrifying. Die for me. Chu Yang released all of his strength. He no longer held back and used all of his divine and demonic martial spirit. Suddenly, the essence of heaven and earth went berserk. The void fluctuated, forming countless vortexes, endless rays of light, and endless darkness that devoured everything. Moreover, all kinds of figures appeared. Some were like holy spirits, some were like demons, some were like ferocious beasts, some were like flames, thunder, frost, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, darkness, all of them appeared. Behind him, the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell appeared at the same time. The kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell opened at the same time, and the gods of the kingdom of heaven and the devil ghosts of the kingdom of hell surged out. This area had become a place where darkness and light clashed. It was like a battlefield between gods and devils. If one were to say that Jun Tianzhou had become the great emperor of the eastern wilderness, then Chu Yang was a fiend god. Jun Tianzhou's 5 poisons imperial fist was used to attack god devils, and as soon as it got close to Chu Yang, the spirit energy around him shattered. Jun Tianzhou wasn't a match for Chu Yang. How could this be? What kind of technique is this? Such power. Is this really something a 9th-level ascending soul realm cultivator can unleash? The 2 elders were shaken, and their bodies trembled. Originally, they had wanted to attack, but after seeing Chu Yang erupt with such shocking power, they didn't dare to do anything. It was as if he was the ruler of the heavenly world and hell. Such a character was not someone they could imagine at all. Compared to their clan leader, that saint's evaluation was even higher, and even more unimaginable. Jun Tianzhou was no match for Chu Yang, and his spear pierced through Jun Tianzhou's body again. Jun Tianzhou screamed in pain as blood spurted out of his mouth. He knew that he was no match for Yi Shiwen, and if he didn't escape now, he wouldn't have a chance to do so. Suddenly, he fled out of the hall. However, Chu Yang's battle prowess had risen by a large margin, as both his god and devil martial souls had been activated. As soon as Jun Tianzhou rushed out of the hall, he vanished into thin air, completely soundless and undetectable. When he reappeared, he had a pair of wings of light and darkness on his back. He moved with incredible speed, and a spear of light and darkness appeared in his hand. Then, he stabbed Jun Tianzhou with both darkness and light, nailing him to the ground. This. Chapter 926. Elders, do I look more mature now? Chu Yang's indifferent words pierced the ears of the 2 elders like a spear in the dark. Although they were angry, they did not dare to lose their temper. After all, they had mocked Chu Yang for being childish and ignorant, treating the fight for power and life as a game. However, how could Chu Yang be as unbearable as they had imagined? The 2 of them had been toyed around by him. Chu Yang had even seen all of their ugliness and mocked them endlessly. Young master, we misspoke just now, please forgive us. The 2 elders knelt down and begged for mercy. There was no doubt that Chu Yang was the leader of their clan and no one could challenge him. If they continued to be disrespectful now, perhaps nothing would happen. But, when Chu Yang completely matured, he would be able to pinch them to death with a lift of his hand. If they gave in and bowed their heads, Chu Yang might let them go. As for killing Chu Yang, they did not even want to think about it. Their clan leader was a sage. If they killed Chu Yang, they would have no way out. They would definitely die and their families would be implicated. I don't know how sincere you are, but it doesn't matter. Chu Yang used the reincarnation gourd and opened his hand. Jun Tianzhou and Jun Wudao's souls flew into his hand. However, as soon as their souls entered his body, they were immediately snatched away by the divine demon martial soul and divided into 2 parts. However, no matter if it was the divine demon martial soul or the divine demon martial soul, they were like dust in his hand. They could not do anything. The divine demon martial soul's action Chu Yang had wanted to collect Jun Tianzhou and Jun Wudao's souls to find the whereabouts of the sect leaders of the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect. He had not expected such a change. While he was in shock, a lot of information entered his mind. It was the memories of Jun Tianqiu and Jun Wudao. Their souls had been completely dismantled by the divine demon martial soul, even more thoroughly than the reincarnation gourd. However, only part of their souls could be used as materials. The sect leader of the Soul Devourer clan, Jun Tianhen. The sect master of the Thousand Devil sect, Jun Tiannu. Chu Yang scanned through the memories of Jun Tianqiu and Jun Wudao's souls. He couldn't help but sneer. Very good. You want to join hands with the 4 countries, 4 emperors, and the demon race to kill me? What? The 2 elders were shocked. They knew very well that Chu Yang possessed the soul-devouring gourd. Since Chu Yang had just collected Jun Tianqiu and Jun Wudao's souls, he must have learned a lot of their secret. Young lord, are you saying that Jun Tianqiu and the others are planning to go against the Council of Elders? The 2 old men's complexions turned unsightly in an instant. If this was the case, they would be completely fooled by Jun Tianqiu. Look for yourselves. Chu Yang flicked his finger and sent this information into the 2 elders' consciousness. Then, the 2 elders became angry. The 4 emperors of the 4 countries actually agreed. They are courting death. They are the rulers of their countries. How could they hand over their country on a silver platter? Unfortunately, they have found the wrong target. Chu Yang smiled. I don't care who unifies the eastern wilderness. Whoever dares to collude with Jun Tianhen and Jun Tiannu will be killed without mercy. After a pause he continued, this is also good. If the 4 empires and the 4 emperors don't die, I won't be able to leave the eastern wilderness at ease. While speaking, Chu Yang handed over the souls he had collected from the reincarnation gourd to the divine demon martial soul. The martial souls of the elders of the Soul Devourer clan were almost completely refined. However, there was no difference whether they were refined or not. After the souls fell into the hands of the divine demon martial soul, all the impurities were removed, leaving only the parts that could be used as materials. The divine demon martial soul began to need something. Chapter 9:27. In just a short while, 2 objects appeared in each of Chu Yang's hands, an angel and an evil demon. At the same time, he sent a portion of his consciousness into the 2 martial spirits, and instantly understood the changes. The angel was the embodiment of light, and the evil demon was the embodiment of darkness. Originally, regardless of whether it was light or darkness, they were too broad and vague, without any specific direction. It was like a country only having an emperor, without officials or an army, and everything had to be done personally. Now, the evil demon and angel were like the soldiers of the country, and the country would be guarded by them. In addition, the angel was from the radiant divine race, and the evil demon was from the dark divine race. Each represented a type of god and a type of devil. The divine race had the most basic 8 divine races. Radiant divine race, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning. It was the same for the devil race. Chu Yang's next step of cultivation was to improve his fiend god physique to the next level, cultivating the attributes of the 8 divine races and 8 devil races, and finally fusing as one, reaching the 9th level of the soul wheel realm. He didn't even need to condense a soul wheel. Evil demon's spear. Boom. Accompanying Chu Yang's voice, the spiritual energy in his body surged, and an extremely terrifying baleful aura and killing intent appeared in the surroundings, causing one's body and soul to tremble involuntarily. It was as though an evil demon had come to this world from hell. Boundless killing intent swept high into the sky, and demonic aura billowed in all directions. The 2 elders' hearts trembled violently. Just when they were talking to Chu Yang, in such a short period of time, Chu Yang's aura actually rose sharply. Especially the demonic spear in his hand, it was even more terrifying than before. The changes were also very obvious. Other than the darkness and evilness, black demonic flames appeared on the spear, and the aura of hell became even stronger. Although there was the aura of hell before, it felt like hell was far away. But now, the two elders felt like hell was right in front of them. The divine devil martial spirit used many souls as materials to create the angel and evil demon. Such a change was like an emperor without an army, and an emperor with an army was naturally more terrifying. Angel's Spear. With a buzzing sound, the Spear of Radiance appeared in Chu Yang's other hand. As soon as the spear appeared, the two elders immediately felt that they had committed grave sins and were about to be judged by the light. The souls of the two old men were completely trembling. They were in the soul fusion tier, while Chu Yang was merely at the peak stage of the ascending soul tier. There was a difference of 2 major tiers between them, but they were actually trembling in front of Chu Yang, extremely terrified. "Young master, I deserve to die." The two old men knelt down again. This time they were sincerely convinced. There was only fear in their hearts. Towards Chu Yang, there was only reverence, boundless reverence. "Get up, I hope you're not acting." Then, Chu Yang smiled and said, "I believe you so easily for the time being. Of course, you can also think that I'm childish and ignorant." "Young master, we dare not." The two elders broke out in cold sweat. Previously, the two of them had given Chu Yang a bad impression. They had to make up for it. "That's it. I still have to kill people." Pung! A pair of wings appeared behind Chu Yang, but this pair of wings was definitely not allowed. One was light and the other was darkness. It seemed like one was an angel's wing, and the other was a demon's wing. This pair of wings slightly flapped. It seemed as if light and darkness were intertwining and colliding with each other. Then, a great power erupted. Whoosh! A loud explosion was heard and a gale sprang up. Chu Yang disappeared in a flash. Not even a black dot could be seen in the distance. So fast! Such terrifying speed! Extreme speed, it was definitely extreme speed. The two elders looked at each other, deeply shocked. Then, they immediately flew out and chased after Chu Yang. They knew very well where Chu Yang wanted to go. The message just now had clearly stated that it was going to the state of Wei. Chapter 928. It was as if the sky had been washed. It was a clear blue without a single cloud in sight. However, Chu Yang didn't notice such a sky because his speed was simply too fast. In just a few moments, the familiar Jinyuan city disappeared from his sight. Soon after, he arrived at the capital of Wei Nation, the Wei capital. The streets of the Wei capital were filled with people and carriages. The noise and filth of the mortal world soared into the sky, as if wanting to dye the clouds black and cause heavy rain to fall. "Who dares to trespass into the imperial city? Flying is forbidden in the imperial city. Violators will be killed without mercy. How dare you, thief? You deserve 10,000 deaths." As soon as Chu Yang reached the capital of Wei, he directly smashed through the protective barrier formed above the capital and charged in. Immediately, the soldiers guarding the capital roared furiously, and some even attacked. But Chu Yang's speed was just too fast. Even with the obstruction of the formation, they could no longer see Chu Yang's figure in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, Chu Yang charged into the Wei Nation Imperial Palace and stood proudly in the air. "Impudent! Do you really think we're decorations? Damn it! These people deserve to die. They dare to look down on our Wei Nation. Release the arrows and shoot them down." Behind Chu Yang, angry roars rang out again. The two elders followed closely behind Chu Yang and also arrived at the Wei capital. It's your honor that our young lord came to your Wei Nation. You dare to be impudent. Those who disrespect the young lord will die." The anger of the two heavenly fusion realm experts caused the entire Wei capital to be shaken. For a moment, the entire city was in chaos. However, it soon calmed down and everyone couldn't help but look at the Wei Nation Imperial Palace. The three people who came all entered the Imperial Palace. Who are these people? Who is this young lord? Who dares to look down on our Wei Nation so boldly? In an instant, countless cultivators flew into the air. At the same time, countless people gathered and immediately saw a figure that seemed like a god or a devil. Chu Yang, it's the great monster Chu. That Chu Duiguang Chu Baiguang, the one with great abilities and longevity. Who else could it be? Why did he come to our Wei country? Could it be that the Wei Emperor did something disgraceful and evil? Who knows? In an instant, many people in the capital of Wei recognized Chu Yang and began to discuss among themselves. In the Imperial Palace, many guards of the Imperial Palace had already gathered and surrounded Chu Yang. However, Chu Yang's aura made the guards' hearts palpitate. They could not help but tremble when they saw the person in the air. It was a fear that came from the depths of their hearts. It was an instinctive fear that told them that this person was extremely dangerous and could take their lives at any moment. Who are you? Why have you barged into the Imperial Palace? Among the guards, a spirit stage general asked angrily, even though he was extremely shocked. The dignity of the Wei nation could not be sullied by anyone. Emperor Wei, I'm here. Are you still not coming out? Chu Yang didn't even look at the guards. How dare you? The spirit stage cultivator was enraged. He roared out and ordered all the guards, everyone, listen up. Kill him, Schwa. Chapter 929. Boom. When this spirit stage general fell from the sky, the entire Wei capital was completely shaken, and it caused an uproar. He directly killed someone. It seems that the Wei Emperor must have done something that he can't tolerate, just like the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect. Chu Yang is a ruthless person. He killed the third princess previously, and now, he killed his way into the Imperial Palace. He even killed someone in the Imperial Palace. Even if he's a monster, he can't act so presumptuously in our Wei capital. Furthermore, he's killing people indiscriminately. How is he different from a devil? From his tone, it seems like he's targeting the Wei Emperor. Is he planning to fight against the entire Wei country by himself? Why not? Previously, many elders of the Soul Devourer clan surrounded him, but they were still killed by him. Let me see. Countless ordinary people of Wei also gathered at this time and rushed towards the direction of the Imperial Palace, not to mention the martial artists of Wei. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! In an instant, the entire Imperial Palace trembled when Chu Yang killed the spirit stage general. However, they were the guards of the Imperial Palace. They had a high level of cultivation and reacted quickly. In an instant, they all responded to each other. Swords and sabers were unsheathed as numerous silhouettes leaped into the air. This was especially so in the depths of the Imperial Palace. Numerous soul reincarnation realm experts all rushed out and blocked Chu Yang's path. Go and call the Wei Emperor out. I came here today to kill the clan leader of the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect. Chu Yang roared. Everyone heard him clearly. He told everyone his intentions. What? The Wei Emperor is protecting the clan leader of the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect? Those two bastards are simply insane. How can the Wei Emperor protect them? Humph, I don't think it's just that. I think that the Wei Emperor is colluding with the Soul Devourer clan. The reason why the great monster Chu Yang killed the third princess was because the third princess and the Gold Rock Holy Sun wanted to kill Chu Yang. The citizens of the Wei capital instantly burst into an uproar. Many people began to criticize Chu Yang. Are you slandering me? The Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demons sect slaughtered the citizens of the Wei kingdom. How can we protect the culprits? A minister at the 9th level of the Soul Reincarnation realm gave out the order, Men, take down this bold thief and hand him over to the Wei Emperor. Humph, who can deal with me? Emperor Wei, that trash. I have the virtue of not wanting to kill too many people. Since you are so stubborn, then all of you can die. Chu Yang coldly snorted and suddenly condensed a flying knife and threw it out. A black light flashed past like a bolt of black lightning, tearing apart the void. Fast, fast, unbelievably fast. Poochie. This minister at the 9th level of the soul circulation realm felt a sharp pain in his throat. After that, he instantly lost consciousness as blood splattered in all directions. Then Chu Yang's spirit energy changed, and a devil's blade condensed in his hand. With a sweep of the blade, 10 heads flew into the sky in an instant. Blood spurted out from the necks, and it was as if 10 fountains had suddenly appeared. Stop! A furious roar came from afar. Then 2 powerful auras descended. They were the Wei Kingdom's State Preceptor and Prime Minister. When the Wei Kingdom's State Preceptor arrived and saw the Wei Kingdom's experts killed by Chu Yang, his eyes couldn't help but turn red. You are simply a devil. Forget it, so what if I am a devil? Chu Yang coldly sneered. You guys work together with scum like the Soul Devourer clan sect leader, and wanted to harm me. Wei Kingdom must be destroyed. Chu Yang, you are presumptuous. Wei Kingdom's State Preceptor suddenly had a thought and shouted loudly, allowing everyone in the palace to hear him clearly. Citizens of Wei Kingdom, if you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Today, Chu Yang, this devil, barged into our Wei Kingdom's palace and wantonly killed people. Where is the dignity of our Wei Kingdom? Chapter 930. You really know how to show off, but is it useful? Spirit energy surged out from Chu Yang's hand and condensed into a devil-throwing knife. Who dares to insult my Wei nation? Rumble. Suddenly, a thunderbolt struck down from the sky, causing the entire Wei nation's imperial palace to tremble. An old figure stepped out from the depths of the imperial palace and appeared in midair. His powerful aura was as though he was the ruler of the world, causing the surrounding void to freeze up. Countless onlookers couldn't help but retreat at this moment. Their hearts were filled with fear. The general in the imperial palace roared, "The retired emperor! The retired emperor has come out!" There weren't many people in the Wei nation who didn't know about the retired emperor. His cultivation was extremely high. When he abdicated the throne to the Wei emperor, he was already at the 9th level of the spirit realm. After so many years, he had probably reached the soul fusion realm. The retired emperor had ruled the Wei nation for nearly 60 years. During his reign, the Wei nation's territory had more than doubled. When this person, the retired emperor of the Wei nation, arrived, the heavens and earth became silent. All sounds disappeared, and it was extremely silent. Following which, groups of armored soldiers continued to gather and surround Chu Yang. They were so densely packed that it was hard to tell how many people there were. You're Chu Yang, the one who killed my granddaughter? The retired emperor of the Wei nation's gaze was like a sword. His voice was extremely dignified. Today, you actually dared to kill someone in the Wei nation's imperial palace. Speak your reason, or else I'll make you beg for death. The retired emperor, right? Chu Yang said coldly. I'll give you one more chance. Hand over the person. Chu Yang, don't slander me. The Wei nation's imperial teacher said angrily. The Wei nation will never protect a murderer who slaughters our people. Retired emperor, if we don't kill this child, where will the Wei nation's dignity go? The Wei nation's prime minister's killing intent was like a blade. He coldly looked at Chu Yang and said, "Dismemberment by 5 horses and 1,000 cuts will not be enough to atone for his crimes." Yes. The retired emperor nodded in agreement. Then, he ordered Chu Yang, "Kill yourself and I'll leave your corpse intact." After he finished speaking, the retired emperor clasped his hands behind his back and looked at Chu Yang with contempt. A mere ninth layer ascending soul tier cultivator dared to be so impudent. He was already half a step into the soul fusion realm, so he could kill someone like Chu Yang with a raise of his hand. Did you not hear what I said? The retired emperor said again. Whoosh. Chu Yang didn't answer. The demon's sword condensed in his hand, and the angel wings and wings of darkness on his back flapped fiercely. With a swoosh, he stabbed forward. The moment the assassination was launched, the sky and earth changed color. It was as if a door to hell had opened in the entire Wei Nation imperial palace. The aura of hell surged out and demonic aura surged out. Then, darkness descended, causing everything to fall into darkness. Wei Nation's retired emperor sneered. A mere ascending soul tier cultivator dares to make a move against me. He grinned hideously and reached out his hand to grab it. However, when his hand came into contact with the demon's sword, it was pierced through like a piece of paper and exploded. The demon's sword pierced his throat, and with a sweep, Wei Nation's retired emperor's head flew up. The head flew up, and a pillar of blood soared into the sky. Up until this moment, Wei Nation's Grand Imperial Sire's old eyes were still flashing with disbelief. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that a mere ninth layer ascending soul realm cultivator would be able to stab him to death with a single sword strike and cut off his head. Chu Yang grabbed the head in his hand and sneered. Retired Emperor, whose retired emperor are you? In your words, you actually dared to be impudent in front of me. I'll kill you like a dog. Wei Nation's retired emperor wasn't completely dead. He said with difficulty, You actually killed me. How is this possible? Who do you think you are? I can even kill a true soul fusion realm cultivator, let alone a half-baked one like you. Chu Yang's sword slashed down, directly cutting the head in half. Wei Nation's retired emperor was completely dead in just a moment. A person who was half a step into the soul fusion realm died just like that. He came quickly and left even faster. Chapter 931. What else do you have to rely on? Bring it all out. Only Chu Yang's voice could be heard. Wei Capital was dead silent. Perhaps they would never be able to forget what had just happened. He was a supreme figure who had once ruled the Wei Nation for 60 years. He was the Grand Emperor of the Wei Nation. However, in the time it took him to pee, he was easily stabbed to death by a sword. His head was cut off and he was deader than dead. He was no different from a chicken or a dog. This was a nightmare, an extremely terrifying nightmare. Everyone in Wei Capital's imperial palace fell into this nightmare. It was as if they would never wake up again. They were all dumbstruck. Wei Nation's imperial advisor and prime minister were also dumbstruck. They were petrified and couldn't move at all. At this moment, their bodies were cold and their souls were trembling. They couldn't believe this scene. No one in Wei Capital's imperial palace could believe what had just happened. Wei Nation's invincible existence, who was half a step into the soul amalgamation realm, died just like that. What a reckless thing. What bullshit, retired emperor. He's not even an ant in front of young lord. How dare he disrespect young lord? It's too easy for him to die just like that. The voices of the two elders were like heavy hammers that smashed into everyone's hearts, waking them up. At this moment, Chu Yang's divine sense had already enveloped the entire Wei Capital's imperial palace. He was investigating the Soul Devourer clan's clan leader, Jun Tianhen, and the Thousand Devil Sect's clan leader, Jun Tiannu. Oh my god, how is this possible? An ascending soul realm martial artist exclaimed in disbelief. Wei Nation's retired emperor, the father of Wei Nation's emperor, the supreme figure of Wei Nation, a half-step soul amalgamation realm retired emperor, was stabbed to death with a single sword. Is Chu Yang a human or a ghost, a god or a devil? Wei Nation's retired emperor is dead. He's really dead. Wei Nation's emperor is definitely not his match. His death is only a matter of time. Wei Nation's destruction is inevitable. If Wei Nation is destroyed, there will be chaos. We will definitely be affected. These were only ordinary people of Wei Nation. The armored soldiers, generals, and ministers of Wei capital's imperial palace were already shouting. Kill him and avenge the retired emperor. Kill this demon. Our Wei Nation will not be humiliated. Several generals and ministers were filled with righteous indignation and encouraged everyone to besiege Chu Yang. Chi. The aura of the devil appeared, and the darkness of the universe flashed by. Sounds rang out continuously, and in an instant, those who were clamoring died. Everyone only saw a bloody hole appear in their throat. Then, they saw Chu Yang, who was like a god, holding a flying knife with surging demonic qi in his hand. He was like the heavens, judging all living beings and judging everyone's fate. Most of the people I've killed deserved to die. Chu Yang opened his mouth, his voice resounding throughout the entire Wei capital. The state of Wei harbors and colludes with the sect master of the Soul Devourer clan, the sect master of the Thousand Devil sect, and other devils. Their deaths are not to be regretted. Those who persist in their wrongdoings and help the evildoers, kill without mercy. Chu Yang used the godly devil martial spirit to speak. It was like the heavens speaking the human language, warning the living beings in the world. It was grand, majestic, noble, and supreme, causing all the clamor to die down. Chu Yang was too lazy to care about the reaction of the people in the Wei capital. If they made a move against him, he would not show mercy no matter who it was. Then, he looked at the state preceptor and prime minister of Wei. Soul Devourer clan's sect master Jun Tianhen, Thousand Spirit sect's sect master Jun Tiannu, and the human emperor. There aren't many chances. If you want to be like the Wei Nation's grand exalted elder, then do as you say. Chapter 932. Chu Yang, I'll be honest with you. Our backer is the Qian Zi of the East Continent. Qian Zi sent us to the Eastern Wilderness, and he will be the future ruler of the Eastern Wilderness. If you dare to kill us, you will definitely die. The Wei Nation Chancellor was initially terrified, but as soon as he finished speaking, he sneered and looked at Chu Yang with disdain. Ah! Just as he was about to assume a high and mighty attitude, he immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Miraculously, he saw his head leave his body. At the same time, he also felt intense pain before his head exploded in the air, and he died completely. So what if you're from the East Continent? Chu Yang sneered as he cut off his head with his saber. To be honest, he was a little surprised. He never expected the Wei Nation Chancellor to be from the East Continent. Moreover, from what he said, the so-called Qian Zi of the East Continent seemed to be plotting something in the Eastern Wilderness. Chu Yang naturally had some scruples about the East Continent, but at this time, the Wei Nation Chancellor still dared to be so arrogant. If he didn't kill him, where would his dignity be? How could he suppress the situation? Not to mention the East Continent, even if he was sent by the Emperor, Chu Yang would still kill him. You, the Imperial Preceptor of Wei State shouted. His hands trembled, not knowing whether it was out of fear or anger. He pointed at Chu Yang and said, "You're dead, you're dead. Not only did you ruin the Qian Zi's plan in the Eastern Wilderness, but you also dared to disrespect him. You'll definitely die. Even God can't save you." The Qian Zi of the East Continent? The two elders frowned. Noisy. Chu Yang also waved the devil's saber and cut off his head, immediately taking his life. The East Continent, the Wei Nation Chancellor and Chancellor are both from the East Continent. What's the Qian Zi of the East Continent's intention? Is he here to enslave us? What Wei Nation? What dignity? Honor? Wei Nation is just a piece of shit. It's just a plaything. Why should we risk our lives for it? Damn it. I'm afraid Emperor Wei is also a lackey of the East Continent. Chu Yang frowned slightly. With the intervention of the East Continent's so-called Qianzi, things had become even more complicated. This was something that he had never expected. Fortunately, he had taken the initiative to launch an attack. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The sudden appearance of the East Continent Qianzi immediately made the loyal armored soldiers of the Wei Imperial Palace give up on the idea of biting off a piece of flesh from Chu Yang even at the cost of their lives. They were the armored soldiers of the Wei nation, and they recognized the Wei nation, not the so-called East Continent Qian Sun. 1. Chu Yang used the reincarnation gourd. He swung his hand and hit the void. Suddenly, a vortex appeared in the void and sucked in the souls of the retired emperor, the prime minister, and the imperial advisor. Then, they were used as materials by the god-devil martial soul to create angels and demons. The memories of the three people's souls were also transmitted into Chu Yang's consciousness. After that, Chu Yang had a complete understanding of everything. 10 years ago, the Wei nation had already submitted to the East Continent Qianzi. This so-called Qianzi wanted to control the Eastern Wilderness and make the entire Eastern Wilderness his headquarters. Chu Yang had a better understanding of the Eastern Wilderness. The Eastern Wilderness was originally a territory of the East Continent's main world. When two supreme figures fought, the sky fell and the earth cracked, the sun and the moon dimmed, and the Eastern Wilderness was separated from the main world on the East Continent's main world. Although the Eastern Wilderness was separated from the main world, the Eastern Wilderness was still under the protection of the main world. After the Eastern Wilderness was separated, it became an incomplete small world. The world's essence was thin and couldn't support powerful beings. Under the protection of the main world, the world's law formed and restricted the realm of living beings. Originally, the highest realm of living beings in the Eastern Wilderness was limited to the peak of the spirit stage, 9th stage. No matter if it was entering or exiting, as long as one's realm was above the peak of the spirit stage, 9th stage, they would be restricted. The patriarch of the clan elders, the saint, was one such example. When Chu Yang first saw him, he couldn't sense it. Later on, when he released a trace of his aura, Chu Yang was able to sense it with the help of the Eastern Wilderness Tower. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.